Are you experiencing uncontrollable fast eye blinking, light palsy, stammering, and overbearing snobbery every time you hear the words, "Make America Great Again"? Are your conversations at dinner turning into debates? Do family gatherings feel like congressional hearings? Do you find yourself engaging in heated conversations with your 6 cats about political policies? Have you been found wild-eyed, naked, frothing at the mouth, and writhing on the floor? Have your friends described blackouts you suffered where you kept staring into space, repeating things like Russian collusion, "He is Hitler," and "Joy Reid was right"? If you said yes to any of these, then you suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. But don't worry, introducing Polycalm, the revolutionary new treatment designed to bring peace back to your household. Crafted by top scientists at RPW Media with a sense of humor and a pinch of irony, Polycalm is clinically proven to reduce symptoms of TDS levels 1 through 5. That's right, no more sudden outbursts at family dinners or knee-jerk unfriending people on social media. No more yelling at people for going into a Walmart through the exit door instead of the welcome side. Polycalm might cause sudden side effects such as extreme agreeableness, an unusual interest in gardening, and a sudden urge to discuss the weather. If you find yourself agreeing to a family game night, consult your recreational therapist immediately. Other side effects include an increased sense of humor, a sudden understanding of different perspectives, and in rare cases, an uncontrollable urge to watch Fox News. Polycalm. Because sometimes we all need a little help to stay sane in a world that seems a bit crazy. Available wherever laughter and open conversations are found. Polycalm is not available in stores and doesn't actually exist. But hey, wouldn't it be great if it did? Until then, liberals remember a little laughter and love of country can go a long way. And stop being a dick. Fact checkers. Polycalm is not a real medication. We're just screwing around. Polycalm is intended for humorous purposes only. Always seek professional advice for serious medical conditions like Trump derangement syndrome.
Hey guys, how you guys doing tonight? Dr. Jade is watching, but she's not here tonight. She is enjoying the lovely grounds of Utah despite Mitt Romney being there. So she just sent me some photos. Maybe I'll put them up. Beautiful, beautiful skyline, the mountains and all that. So how's everybody doing? What's going on? What's up, Streaky Bacon? Hey, Pamela. What's up, girlfriend? Hey, Simon. How you doing? Packa. Good man. Chris, what's up, bro? What's up, guy? Hey, Anglo. Good to see you guys, man. The wheat greatness. I always get that wrong. I say the white greatness. Yeah, the wheat greatness. What's up, brother? Good to see everybody. All right. Let us see what we're going to. We got a lot of stories. It's like a fire hose every week, right? Let's see. Share screen. Yeah, I cleaned out everything on my PC this week, and so now everything has to be renewed. You got to log into everything. Everything jolts because there's no cache in there. So I got to get used to that. All right. So let's start off just reading the headline. So Trump's relationship with Musk collapses. You all heard it, right? There's all these theories. Some people think that it was a setup. I don't think it was. I think my take on it is Elon was angry. He acted like a real child. I think he did. He went way too far. He went vicious. Trump tried to be, kind for Trump. He tried to be nice about it. Elon didn't want to hear it. Now Elon says, you know what? Maybe I ought to go back and kiss the brass ring because I could hurt myself more than I'll hurt him. So I don't know how it's going to end, but I don't think that relationship's ever going to be the same. So here we go. White House insiders vent on big, beautiful breakup, reveal Elon's final straw. Well, Trump thinks it was the NASA pick. Trump announces new travel ban. They're going to call it a Muslim ban like they did the last time, and it wasn't a Muslim ban. Trump announces new travel ban after Boulder terror attack. We don't want them, he says. Here's a great one. And just like that, Democrats crawl out of the woodwork and whisper Karine Jean-Pierre was incompetent. She was the worst press secretary we've ever had. And now she's doing a book called Independent. And she got, you know what it is? She tried to get a co-host position on The View. And I think they laughed at her and said, get lost. And so she knew that was the weather bell, right? She knew that she wasn't really going to get much. So she left the party to push her book. Because think about it. Who would buy her book except that 10% of leftists that, are pretty insane, and they loved her. So I think that she left the party, called herself an independent, just so that all the scuttlebutt would come up and they go, oh, she's independent, but her book's name Independent. I think I'll buy it. That kind of crap. And we have Supremes deliver big win for gun makers in Smith & Wesson versus Mexico. That's a good one if you're into guns. J.D. Vance, we were actually governed by complete morons. That's pretty good, actually. And Steve Bannon, betrayal from within. Listen to this. He's illegal, Bannon exposes Elon Musk's self-serving agenda and Trump disloyalty. Now, Bannon runs his mouth. I like Steve Bannon, but he runs his mouth sometimes, and when he shouldn't. So, I still like Elon, but I just, for the life of me, I can't understand why he went the way he went. All right, 2 Chinese nationals, get this, 2 Chinese nationals charged with smuggling potential agro-terrorism fungus into the U.S. In other words, it would have killed all our crops, and they wanted to spread it around on all the farms. It's a lot of farms, but still. Supreme Court rules in favor of straight woman in discrimination case. Now, for the YouTube people, I'm not the one that called her straight. You see, they don't like that because it indicates that if you're not straight, you're crooked somehow, right? So I'm just saying, I'm just reading, guys. That's all I'm doing. And then we got at the top here a boatload of stuff that's actually going to be a good week. So let's see. Remember, folks, the story gets the Bongino effect. That's right. You wait 48 hours before you say anything. Yeah, Bannon is legend. I love the guy. I read a biography about him, and I think he's a good guy. I think he's good for the cause. He went to prison for us. Think about that. I think it's a setup going on. I'm not trusting this fight. Yeah, I know, Pam. A lot of people are saying that. Musk went nuclear in public, a bit naughty. That, yeah, you're absolutely right, man. When he said, and he caught a lot of crap for this, he said, I'm just going to tell you right now, the reason why the Epstein list hasn't come out right away is because Trump's on it. Well, Trump is on the Epstein list. We know that because he hung out with Epstein a few times, and Ghislaine Maxwell and Melania. But what the lib nuts forget to always tell you is that as soon as Trump found out what he was doing with some young girl at Mar-a-Lago, he banned him for life. And the left always forgets about that. Roger Stone came out. I'm going to read one of his stories. Did not go to the island. He was not on the Lolita Express plane. He wasn't. And he was on a plane with Epstein. Yeah, but it wasn't the Lolita Express. So there's absolutely no evidence. And I'm going to read something from Roger Stone, because Roger Stone has known Trump for about 48 years, I think. He went to prison for Trump, right? The lawfare that the Dems threw at him, because he did absolutely nothing wrong, right? All he does is writes books, right? And so we're going to hear from him. He points out, he says, look, there's absolutely no evidence. And think about this, guys. When they were running, okay, they had this data. All right, the Democrats, they had it for 4 years under warm diarrhea brains, Joe Biden. And so you think that they would not, there's going to be commercials tonight too, guys. Sorry, got to monetize because Buy Me a Coffee is a ripoff. They stole every donation that I've had so far. They're not listing it. I've written to them 4 times. They won't get back to me. So now I'm trashing them. Have them call my lawyers. I don't care because they trashed me. They took my money. Okay, so that's out of the way. So, yeah, this thing going on with Elon, I don't know what it is, but now they're saying that he wants to reconcile, and Trump actually already said, I have nothing to say to him. Trump basically, here you go. Trump said, the news reported something different, but Trump said, look, he said, we've seen this happen before when people leave the administration. He goes, It's a big thing to be actually in an administration because all eyes are on you. You feel like, you're worth something because you're in, like Flynn. He goes, and so some people, when they leave very happily. We keep in touch. And he goes, other people, they get angry because he goes, they wake up the next day and they're like, wow, I'm not a part of that anymore. And there's no more glory, none of that. And so he goes, they get vicious. He goes, I think it's, they call it TDS. And so naturally the Libnut host, reporter, I guess you'd call her, she says, oh, so Trump called him, said Elon has TDS, and he did no such thing. So they're loving it. The left-wing press is loving it. I'm not loving it. He has so much dirt on them. But they tried. Epstein tried to bring him in, and I believe I heard one story go out from someone in the know that said that that they asked him if he wanted to be a part of it, and he said no. Hey, what's up, Louie? Good to see you, bro. I'm still at work. You're at work. Damn, really? That's kind of late. Let's see. All right, let me go into the first story. Here we go. Let's share this tab. Trump's relationship with Musk collapses with nasty war of words. You think this is time, so don't expect much. Well, let's hear this.
Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars, and it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have all. We want to be able to sell everything. And
now, if you're listening to the left-wing media, they'll call him a liar. You only care about fossil fuels. Well, he just told you we want electric, but it's unfair to take billions and billions of taxpayer dollars to help people buy electric cars. Like, why do that? If you want an electric car, you're going to go out and buy an electric car. I was totally against electric cars until I've seen a few Teslas and I've heard what they can do. So now I'm kind of interested. I'll probably never buy one, but I'm kind of interested because I think they got a lot of cool stuff.
If you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape. He said the most beautiful things about me, and he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next.
Oh, it is.
But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot. A lot of good things are happening in this room, and
and Trump, when Elon started getting nasty, he said, well, maybe we'll just kill all those SpaceX contracts.
I'll tell you, he's not the first. People leave my administration and they love us, and then at some point they miss it so badly, and some of them embrace it and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it, but we have it with others too. They leave and they wake up in the morning and the glamour's gone, the whole world is different, and they become hostile. I don't know what it is. Someday you'll write a book about it and you'll
So that reporter that played that clip, he just said he had Trump derangement syndrome, which he didn't. The incentive to buy EV has stopped. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I put that cup up there. I found it in my cupboard. I haven't used it in like 3 years. Let's see. It was a God Emperor sent Elon back to Africa. Yeah, you know what? Bannon is out there saying he's an illegal alien. I don't think he is, but hey, what's up, Special K? Good to see you, brother. Thanks for being here. EVs are worse for they are worse because of the battery acid and several other things. Yeah. But they said, but they don't have smoke. They aren't that expensive. Yeah, they're not. You can get, what's up, brother? Yeah, you can get I believe, Pam, you have a Tesla, don't you? I think everybody in your family has a Tesla, don't they? They're like Tesla people. Yeah, they liked Elon, so they figured, what the hell? Then they had to buy the glasses, right? Whatevs. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. Here we go. How do I bring that in? There we go. All right. Boom. Share this. This is uncanceled news. White House insiders vent on big, beautiful breakup. Reveal Elon's final straw. Trump thinks it's that he pulled the EV, but there was also something else about NASA. So hold on. White House insiders told the Daily Caller Thursday that the snubbing of Elon Musk's NASA pick was the final straw after months of friction between he and the Trump White House. It wasn't really between Trump and him. It was between the White House and him because Trump made his pick and he had to deal with everybody else. After Musk publicly criticized Trump's big, beautiful bill for days, Trump finally alleged the former head of Doge has Trump derangement syndrome. See, he didn't. That's uncanceled news, but that's not what you heard, right? He talked about people who leave. He goes, I don't know. They call it Trump derangement syndrome. Then the floodgates open. Musk called for the president's impeachment and alleged his former boss is in the Epstein files. White House insiders told the caller Musk had been over asking and trying to act like a second president. He was being told no a lot, something that caused him to become increasingly irritable over time. Some of those big asks were for specific leaders at the IRS, CIA, and perhaps most notably NASA. Days before the public implosion, Trump withdrew the nomination of Jared Isaacman, a Musk ally, to run the agency. Sources told the caller that was the straw that broke the camel's back. We don't have to read the rest. They're reading about gold. But so they're saying that they believe it's because Trump had another pick. Hey, what's up, brother? Jimmy from Philly in the house, guys. Hey, Commander, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. All right. Yeah, so they believe that it was the NASA thing. I don't know. He picked in the big, beautiful bill. Now, hey, Uncle Bobby, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Yeah, Doc Jade's not here tonight. She's watching, but she's in the wonderful state of Utah and having a great time despite Mitt Romney being there. I said that earlier, didn't I? Yeah. But what did she say? She said, I'm not made of money either. Hence, I won't be hitting the street corner later. That's funny. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that it's because of the big, beautiful bill. Trump said that he knew everything that was in it because he was the Doge guy. So he said, look, we're going to bring you in on this and let you read in and whatnot. And then when he said that, Elon tweeted back, that's a total lie. Hey, Sheila. What's up, girlfriend? Good to see you. Yeah, and said that that's a total lie. Well, it isn't a lie because we heard Trump say it during the time when they were working on that bill. He said, well, Elon thinks that yada, yada. You know, I heard him say it. So, I don't know, man. It would be nicer if they started, talking again, but I don't think that relationship's ever going to be the same. Yeah, I just don't. Because Trump, think about this, guys. For Trump to not trash him right away, it means he liked Elon. And he was like a fatherly figure to him. Yeah, there's a guy here. What is it? Painting is effing. All right, I can't say that word because I'm monetized tonight, Jim. Try not to F-bomb it, okay? We can't. I say one little F-bomb and I could be demonetized. So please don't. Thank you. Let's see. All right, darling, couldn't afford me. Ha. Yeah, and she's not kidding. Oh, I love Pam, and you can too for just $12. No, I'm kidding. Let's go to I'm kidding. Let's go to the next one. Trump. Yeah, here we go. They're gonna lose their minds on this one. Trump's so-called travel ban. So it says, there we go. Trump announces new travel ban after Boulder terror attack. We don't want them, he says. President Donald Trump, speaking from the Oval Office Wednesday night, announced sweeping new travel restrictions in the wake of the recent terror attack in Boulder, calling the attack a grim reminder of the dangers of unchecked immigration and lax visa policies. Thank you, Joe Biden. Trump outlined an executive order that reinstates and extends his signature travel ban from his first term. Quote, the recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, he said, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them. The attacker, a foreign national who had overstayed his visa, threw Molotov cocktails into a pro-Israel crowd. Wasn't this in the mall? They weren't even saying anything. They were just walking around, I think, praying or something. They weren't holding signs. Trump cited the incident as part of a growing pattern of terror threats fueled by failures in immigration enforcement, a problem he laid squarely at the feet of Joe Biden and the Democrats. Why not? Well, he's been out for 4 months, you bigot. Nah. He had 4 years of an open border policy. Shit, it was beyond open border. He literally flew to places, had planes go to pick them up and bring them here. Quote, in the 21st century, we've seen one terror attack after another carried out by foreign visa overstayers from dangerous places all over the world, Trump noted. And thanks to Biden's open door policies, today there are millions and millions of these illegals who should not be in our country. He praised the effectiveness of his previous travel restrictions, which I'm sure you recall were widely criticized by the media. They said it was a Muslim ban. Well, you know who really did have a Muslim ban? Barack Obama. Barack Obama had a ban on Iran, and it literally said the word Muslim in there. Trump's ban didn't mention Muslim anywhere. And if it was a Muslim ban, how come the two most populous Muslim countries in the world were not like Indonesia wasn't in there? I can't remember what the other one, but Indonesia, is it Pakistan? But Indonesia wasn't there, and they have I think the largest Muslim population in the world. And they weren't on the ban because they weren't having people. If you remember at the time, ISIS was coming into the country. They were trying to play themselves off as refugees that Obama was letting in. So on his first day back in office, Trump ordered the State Department to conduct a top-to-bottom security review of high-risk countries to determine where new restrictions should be applied. The review considered the large-scale presence of terrorists, failure to cooperate on visa security, inability to verify travelers' identities, inadequate record-keeping of criminal histories, and persistently high rates of illegal visa overstayers and other things. Think about this. At one point, there were 2 million people that came over the border, the southern border, in 1 month. 2 million people during Biden's administration. In 1 month that was the highest, and they don't like to brag about it, but there was 2 million people. Now, how do you vet? Even if you have 70,000 Border Patrol, how do you get 2 million people into the country? Well, you let them in. You tell your Border Patrol, don't do anything. Don't stop them. You tell the immigration judges who work for the president, believe it or not, to not go after them, to not apply bench warrants when they don't show up for their hearing, their deportation hearings. Just let them go, a de facto amnesty, if you will. I mean, that's what happens. And so Trump has to clean up the mess. And now where they don't know, he's just evil. Yeah, he's just evil because he's obeying the law. They just don't like it. Let me see. What do we got going on here? What's that? A good stick can go a long way. I don't even want to get into that. I don't even know what you're talking about. Here we go. Thank you, good sir. It's been on for me. Missing about 40 out. Yeah. I'll bring you on later to talk about it. If you want, Commander. I see, thankfully, I didn't break any bones, but my truck ended. Oh, geez. Wow, you guys are all messed up. All right, what's next? Great. That remarkable woman, the one, the only, Karine Jean-Pierre. So it says, and just like that, Democrats crawl out of the woodwork to whisper, Karine Jean-Pierre is incompetent. It's like they didn't know it all along, right? Karine Jean-Pierre, the Democrat spokesweasel who called Joe Biden as sharp as a tack and was lionized as an historic figure. She literally said, I'm walking around as a historic figure every day. And she was so serious about it. Has left the Democratic Party and now has a book to sell. Yeah, I was saying earlier, for you, those of you who weren't here, she has this book that she called Independent. She wanted, the story is she wanted to get, which isn't in the book, naturally, but she wanted to get a co-host spot on The View, and they laughed at her and said, get lost. We'll have you on as a guest, but maybe, get lost. And so she read the tea leaves there, I'm a joke. I'm going to be a joke. I have to salvage this. So she wrote a book called Independent. Does anybody, show of hands, anybody really believe she wrote the book? So it turns out that she wrote it called Independent, and she left the Democratic Party. Why? Because no one was going to buy that book. I mean, people would wonder if she was literate. Half the time she was not when she was up at that podium. And she couldn't find things. She was totally disorganized. And so was her brain, right? So what's happening is she went and left the party because that's going to stir up a lot of news. Oh, my goodness, the former press spokesperson, you know, she just left the party. It's going to be an independent. And her book's independent. I'll fork out $40. You know, that's what the thinking is, but I doubt it. And in no time at all, the Democrat long knives have come out. According to Axios, quote, what they're saying, one former White House official who worked closely with Jean-Pierre told Axios that she was one of the most ineffectual and unprepared people I've ever worked with. She had meltdowns after any interview that asked about a topic not sent over by producers because she was just terrible at the job. That's DEI at its best. Well, it's worse, depending on how you're thinking about it. But she was a DEI hire. She was a black female. She was a lesbian. She was the perfect choice for that administration, but she was awful. So I guess they're saying that there's no actually intelligent and competent black lesbian females. I say lesbian and female because, you know, with those people, you never know, right? So there's no competent. Sure there are, but they had to pick her. She didn't know how to manage a team, didn't know how to shape or deliver a message, and often created more problems than she solved. Wow. Don't you love it when the long knives come out? A former Biden communications official threw more wood on the fire. The hubris of thinking you can position yourself as an outsider when you not only have enjoyed the perks of extreme proximity to power, which bestows the name recognition needed to sell books off your name, but have actively wielded it from the biggest pulpit there is as breathtaking as it is desperate. It's difficult to see how this is anything but a bizarre cash grab. That sounds like a conservative. Another former White House official familiar with the dynamics told Axios the amount of time that was spent coddling Jean-Pierre and appeasing her was astronomical compared to our attention on actual matters of substance. Oh, man. She's got to be hiding with her head under a pillow. This, as she and her Democrat colleagues were lionizing her as an historic figure in high praise of her being black, a woman, and lesbian in a DEI threefer. Wow. I could have written this. She writes, Danny Taggart writes, Karine Jean-Pierre declared herself a historical figure. This administration will go down in history. Yes, I myself am already a historical figure, and I walk in history every day. She actually said it. Let's listen.
Many things that made me incredibly proud to be at that podium during this historic moment. Again, this is a historic administration. I'm a historic figure, and I certainly walk in history every day. But this is also a historic making administration because of this president. Many things.
Can you imagine the gall of talking like that? Holy mackerel. Just unbelievable. What's this? Stupid Cupid. Let's see. Funny enough, hit a tree. Wow. I can't put that one up. My sister just bought a Kia Silver, Kia Sportage. Nice. Let's see. Weapons grade stupidity. Oh, I'm telling you, she really was. I mean, she didn't even say circle back. She just, well, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. But we got some cool stuff. Cool. She doesn't know that I'm doing a show, so she's texting me now. Okay. Your head, you sweet thing. Here we go. What's the next one? Oh, my God. She keeps... Okay. I'm live. She goes, I'm excited. I wrote, I'm live. Got a reminder sometime. Here, this is good. Let's put this up. JD Vance. He says, we were actually governed by complete morons. Vice President JD Vance. Oh my God. So she writes again. Sorry. Okay. All right. Vice President J.D. Vance strongly criticized the pre-Trump political establishment during a policy discussion in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday night, stating that the United States was governed by complete morons prior to Trump. And you want to know something, guys? I agree with him 100%. Was there anyone who was competent in that administration? Anyone? Okay. Show a hand. Can anybody name? I'm being serious. Can y'all name someone who was competent in the Biden administration? I can't think of one. I say your viewers don't forget this. Yeah, thank you, Chris. Do what Chris says. Yeah, hit the like button if you can, guys, before you leave, because it does help. Appreciate it. All right, let's get back to this. So his remarks were delivered during the 5th anniversary gala for American Compass, a conservative economic think tank. Speaking with American Compass founder Orrin Cass at the National Building Museum, Vance explained how the previous administration failed to even ask questions, basic questions about the country's supply chain vulnerabilities before Trump took office. Well, that was Buttigieg. He was supposed to get involved in that, and he never did. Think about it. It took him, 3 months to go to East Palestine, Ohio, after that train derailment? Quote, if I, on January 21, in fact, I did ask a question. Where are the biggest deficiencies in our supply chains? What are the 100 products that we're completely reliant on, other than on some other entity for us to make it? So what he's saying is basically, what are we relying on China for? Because we got to start building it here. We don't know, he added, referencing the response he received at the time. He went on to say, what was so crazy about the hyper-globalized era is that you had these basic questions about the brittleness of our supply chains that were completely congested or uninvestigated. Oh, Jesus Christ. My sister just keeps texting me, and I mean, oh my God. Completely family, right? Uninvestigated by the very people who supported globalizing those supply chains. We were actually governed by complete morons, and we didn't even realize it until the Trump administration started to get underneath the hood. This is great too. You got to hear this. Let's see. Come on.
Thing that is shocking about the prior government, about the government we inherited the White House from, is if I, on January the 21st, in fact, I did ask this question, where are the biggest deficiencies in our supply chains? What are the 100 products that we're completely reliant on some other entity to make for us? Where are they made, and how hard would it be to onshore that manufacturing? I asked that explicit question, and the answer was, we don't know. Nobody in the prior government had actually asked these very fundamental questions. And so what is so crazy about the hyper-globalized era is that you had these basic questions about the brittleness of our supply chains that were completely uninvestigated by the very people who supported globalizing those supply chains. We were actually governed by complete morons, and we didn't even realize it until the Trump administration started to get underneath the hood of our government.
You got to love that. He is not afraid to speak his mind, and he's exactly right. Like I said, I can't think of a single person in that administration you can look up to and go, well, that guy was competent. I don't know. I don't know if there were any. You say Susan Rice was competent, Valerie Jarrett. No, they were evil. They weren't competent. They were competent at being evil. When did we get the expose book from the gay dude that was stealing? Oh, yeah, I know. I don't know, man. I don't know what was his name again? I can't remember his name. But yeah, he stole women's purses, and they had to be expensive purses, and he kept doing it. He made the news on doing it, and he kept doing it. Unreal. Unbelievable. All right. Cancel that. Yeah, here goes Steve Bannon. This is good. This is good, too. Yeah, Bannon went off on Musk, calls it betrayal. So he has betrayal from within. He's illegal. Bannon exposes Elon's self-serving agenda and Trump disloyalty. Now, Bannon, I love Bannon, but sometimes he goes a little vicious, right? He runs his mouth, and sometimes what he says is not, he doesn't lie. He just doesn't have the full facts yet. He should wait. What Chris said, the Bongino rule. Steve Bannon delivered a fiery takedown of Elon Musk during a Thursday War Room broadcast, accusing the billionaire of betraying President Trump, MAGA, and ultimately the American people. According to Bannon, Musk used his privileged access to the White House. And you got to remember, guys, it was a privilege. People aren't just allowed to roam the White House, and he didn't work for the government. He was a contractor, right? So he didn't have the right. He was privileged. White House and MAGA's political capital for personal gain, only to turn on Trump when his demands weren't met. Bannon's warning is not just about one man, but a pattern among self-interested elites who masquerade as allies while endangering a constitutional republic. Steve Bannon didn't hold back, and he didn't, as he leveled sharp criticism at Elon Musk, framing him as the ultimate political opportunist who betrayed the very movement that once gave him unprecedented influence. Quote, President Trump empowered him more than anyone has ever been empowered in this government, he emphasized. He had resources, access, support. Trump had his back. Let's watch it. Oh, we got to do commercials. Oh, how much you want to bet? Yeah, okay, good. There we go. 4, 3. Oh, wow. No commercial. Yay.
Oh, so I quoted you this morning on that, on savings to entitlements. All
that's not going up.
The other day, those comments are great.
That's
then
so
also, the weight of the world is on the presidency, right? He's responsible. Elon is not responsible morally, politically, for the real outcomes of all these interrelations between all these moving pieces. He just gets to do cheap shots.
He's another government contractor.
I don't want to get off thesis, but there's a lot of notable names. Jamie Dimon, Morgan Stanley coming out. Hey, we have a debt problem. Hey, we ought to be building up the defense, right? Like he's running for president now. It's easy to say that after it's already out in the media. The immigration problem's been around for a decade, and now people are just noticing it.
But you're wandering away here. You're wandering away.
Yeah, no, I know.
This is not about. People can make comments. You can make comments.
Yeah.
This is not what this is about. He promised and committed. He was given access.
Yeah.
He had admiration.
Yeah.
He had resources. They did everything to support him. He told the president, I'm going to find $2 trillion in cuts for this year in waste, fraud, and abuse. Yeah. The president said, fine. Then he came back to trade. President said, fine. President had his back, defended him, promoted the cars when he was getting attacked, had his attorney general defend this guy. At every step of the way, President Trump had this guy's back and promoted him.
Yeah.
He did.
Right? And what he did, he gave false information. This was not just incompetence. What did Scott Besson call him? Scott Besson called him a fraud in the Oval Office outside. That's why Elon attacked him.
Didn't know
because
that.
He called him a fraud. He said, hey, you committed to the president $1 trillion. You got nothing. We've been here for 5 months, and you've been performance art all over town for yourself. Your chainsaw and your wraparound sunglass all for yourself. Not for the country, not for the president, not for MAGA, not for the American people, for yourself. And then he had every access. Now he says, I didn't see the bill. Nobody read the bill. What are you talking about? Everybody had this bill up there. You could have read it, and you knew the numbers. You didn't need to read 9,000 pages. The math was there. We debated every day on the war. We talked about this ad nauseum.
Right.
Of course he saw the numbers, and people talked to him about the numbers. He had no problem with the numbers. Johnson, Polly Pocket said he never called me, and they talked every day, never talked to me about this. The president said he never made one comment. He had no problem about that. Now, when he doesn't get the EVs, and it's not just about the EVs. Man. President Trump, the Axios story said it, and President Trump said it today. He said, hey, no offense, I kind of fired him. I let him go. He wanted to extend. I wouldn't extend him. Okay, then it got personal with him, and now he comes out, he's attacking to kill the bill. He's not saying they're going, hey, I think Ron Johnson's got some really good ideas. Right. I think Mike Lee's got some ideas. My point is, Jamie Dimon, everybody, people make comments, we make comments. There's comments all over, observations all over. This is not what this is.
Right.
He went and then personally, without informing the president of the United States, who he had told us, hey, I'm not gay, but I love this man. I love this man more than any man can love a man. Remember that? I love this man. I love this man more than anybody can love a man. I know it sounded gay, but he told us up front, I'm not gay, okay? But I love this man.
Well, he's got a lot of kids.
The love doctor, right? What does he do? He doesn't inform the president. He comes out of nowhere. He's putting the Kill Bill thing out there to kill the bill.
He did.
Not saying we need some changes here. Ron Johnson's got some good ideas. I think Josh Hawley's got a couple.
He went on to say, you should be ashamed of yourself if you voted for this. So he's not just attacking Trump and the administration. He's going after.
Well,
He's going after everyone.
The guys in the Senate. Now I got Andy Biggs. I've got the Hawks of the Freedom Caucus are saying, hey, I think we got some stuff that we want to change. Of course, the taxes don't expire until December 31st. That's the day we have to do it. We know we have to do it. And people have a lot of work, and people in this town are working around the clock. Some are working for the lobbyist. Some are working for the populist. Elon Musk is working for himself. President Trump empowered him more than anyone's ever been empowered in this government, had his back, promoted this guy. And when people like me who said, you're making a mistake, right? This is a bad guy. He's going to turn on you. He's not with us. He's also totally incompetent. And President Trump said, hey, give this guy a shot. And I trust President Trump's judgment enough to say, as people know, I backed off a little, right? Not a lot, I backed off a little. But it's not about observations. As soon as he didn't think he ran the deal or got the adoration, right, that he was starting to be saying, where's the $1 trillion, right? What is this? He turned on President Trump. He turned on MAGA. But most importantly, he turned on the country and the American people. And President Trump just had enough of it. Yeah. And he forced his way back in to have like some last day. They didn't want to do that. But fine. And then as soon as President Trump comes out today, and President Trump saying it in the nicest way possible about the bill, right? The bill, bing, bang, bang. The guy gets up and starts tweeting the most vicious stuff you could tweet.
He did.
So all the fanboys defend this. He accused President Trump of basically being a group with those pedophiles on the island. He called for the president to be impeached and J.D. Vance to take his role.
Right.
As hard as we've worked in all the years that we've worked and this audience has worked, some punk is going to sit there and go, he should be impeached. And hey, as sure as the turning of the earth, if those progressives rub up on him and say, hey, they're never going to buy the Teslas, we're going to buy the Teslas, they rub up on him, he'll write a $500 million check for Hakeem Jeffries. He'll be across the thing looking to impeach President Trump, looking to help steal the 2028 election, looking to imprison President Trump. So here's my point. Let's get ahead of it. And let's get ahead of it tonight. There's lots to be done. This guy is all over the map. He's right. But he's emblematic of these oligarchs. All of them have the maturity of a 9-year-old. And they're
And I say that he acted very childish, and he was acting very childish.
Dangerous. Like they're dangerous not just to the president of the United States. More importantly, they're dangerous to...
It's Ian Miles Chung. He's an independent journalist. I'm not allowed to curse, but I don't like him.
This republic and the citizens of this constitutional republic.
And that's that. Let's see, what do we got? Hey, Spanish Chicken. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Ostrich eggs are very big. Okay. I'm going to assume that there was something that led up to that. That's what happens when you don't keep track of the chat. You can't when you're reading because you're on another page. Let's see. Pay for the pupper. Yeah. Let me see how many we got so far. Let me see. What do we got? And it's not all right. We got 16. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so now. It helps us. Who else is in here? Anybody new? Spanish Chicken. All right. Let's hit the next one. I skipped one. Yeah, I'll skip the gun one because they don't like that in the office. This one's kind of frightening. China tried to attack us again. Okay. Here you go. 2 Chinese nationals charged with smuggling potential agro-terrorism fungus into the U.S. Authorities said it was in connection with work at the University of Michigan. Again, Michigan. 2 Chinese nationals have been charged with allegedly smuggling into the U.S. a fungus called Fusarium grandis, which scientific literature classifies as a potential agro-terrorism weapon, the Justice Department said on Tuesday. Yang Qing Jian, 33, and 34, citizens of the People's Republic of China, were allegedly receiving Chinese government funding for their research, some of it at the University of Michigan, officials said. Quote, the complaint also alleges that Jian's, electronics contain information describing her membership, that's a girl, her membership in and loyalty to the Communist Chinese Party, the CCP. A DOJ press release said, quote, "It is further alleged that Jian's boyfriend, Liu, works at a Chinese university where he conducts research on the same pathogen, and that he first lied but then admitted to smuggling into America through the Detroit Metropolitan Airport so that he could conduct research on it at the laboratory at the University of Michigan where his girlfriend Yun worked." Yeah, a likely story. Yeah, you're gonna. That's like, well, we're doing gain of function research on this agro-terrorist fungus. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement that the Justice Department has no higher mission than keeping the American people safe and protecting our nation from hostile foreign actors. I hope they do. I hope they do charge them as hostile foreign actors. I don't believe for a second that they wanted to look at it, because you know why? You don't smuggle stuff like that in. You go through a program. If you're at the University of Michigan, you go to the people there that would do this, and you say, look, we want to create a lab because we want to study this stuff. There was nothing written. Thanks to the hard work of our excellent DOJ attorneys, this defendant, who clandestinely attempted to bring a destructive substance into the United States, will face years behind bars. Good. Now you got to wonder, how many of those same people came over the border? We know that it was like up to 42,000 Chinese men. They were young, military-age men, came over the border during those 4 years. Are you kidding me? That's just unreal. And they keep dropping your name. Oh, man. Yeah, so hang on. The alleged actions of these Chinese nationals, including a loyal member of the Chinese Communist Party, are of the gravest national security concerns. These two aliens have been charged with smuggling a fungus that has been described as a potential agro-terrorism weapon into the heartland of America, where they apparently intended to use a University of Michigan laboratory to further their scheme. Can you believe this? Today's criminal charges levied upon are indicative of CBP's critical role in protecting the American people from biological threats that could devastate our agricultural economy and cause harm to humans, especially when it involves a researcher from a major university attempting to clandestinely bring potentially harmful biological materials into the U.S. Yeah, so they won't stop at trying to screw us over. Now you know why they bought up a lot of farms. What's this? Nice. Oh, he's on Rumble. Nice. There you go. Nice. All right. Now you know why the Chinese bought up all those farms. Number one, so they could shut them down. And what's this? Let me see. Illegals in the UK fleeing from war zones. Rich, leave their women and children behind. Yeah. I really have nothing to say about the Ukraine mess. It shouldn't have been our mess in the first place. Let me go up top. Must signal. Yeah, here it is. Let's bring this up. Share. Breaking. Musk signals openness to making peace with Trump. And Trump basically said, I have nothing to say to him, because he had a day to think about it. Tech billionaire Elon Musk may be ready to put an end to his feud with President Donald Trump, signaling openness to reconciliation in a social media exchange on Thursday. Responding to a post from investor Bill Ackman, who called on both men to make peace for the benefit of our great country, Musk simply replied, "You're not wrong." Yeah, I read the tweet. Message marks a notable shift in it marks a shift in his attitude, in that he realized that he could lose more than Trump will. And that if he goes after Trump in the childish way he did, but to affect money, then he's going to have an entire nation pissed at him and he'll self-deport. You know, the message marks a notable shift in tone after days of escalating tensions between the two powerful figures. Just earlier that day, Musk threatened to immediately decommission SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft, following Trump's statement that he was considering canceling U.S. government contracts with Musk's companies. Well, why wouldn't he? Would you be able to trust someone with government contracts that you are utterly responsible for, right, if you're president? Would you trust someone that just said that you were involved with pedophiles? I mean, would you? You know, I wouldn't. I'd be like, dude, grow up, get the hell out. The move would have left NASA without a reliable way to send or retrieve astronauts from the International Space Station. Yeah, go ahead, Elon. You do that. You do that. See where that takes you. Where 4 U.S. astronauts are currently stationed. That threat, however, was later walked back. Musk reversed course Thursday, replying to a user who urged both to step back from the fight. Good advice. Okay, we won't decommission Dragon. So he says, okay, to a Twitter or an X user. What is that? This guy, he's acting like a child. I never thought I'd see this. SpaceX's Dragon capsule has been a key part of NASA's crewed space missions. It was previously used to rescue astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore after they were stranded on the ISS for nearly 10 months. Yeah, Joe Biden didn't want to go after them. He didn't want to do anything. He didn't lift a finger. While NASA is working with Boeing on its Starliner project, that spacecraft has not yet been approved for human travel, leaving Dragon as the only proven U.S. option for manned missions. Trump's conflict with Trump began after the president's big, beautiful bill. No, it began long before that. Even the conservative news is getting it wrong. It was long. He used that as an excuse, but it was long before that. Arabat Ford. I don't know what you mean. Let me see. It called him a Nance FFS. Let's see. The back door, tradesman entrance. I think let's see a plane. Is that? All right. Let's see. What's next? And Musk explained privately to Elon lost his mind. Trump said Elon lost his mind. Not particularly interested in talking to him. Here you go. Here's the Roger Stone piece that I wanted to read. Come on. There it is. Okay. Yeah, Roger Stone has been friends with Trump for like 48 years, I think. Trump, Epstein, and the truth emerges. Note, while this post and all others on Stone Cold Truth are currently available to all, in order to give you a sample of the content to expect in the coming days, the most controversial and groundbreaking content will require a paid subscription. With a judge ordering the release of documents regarding sex trafficker and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein this week, we have also seen a vicious attempted assault on President Donald Trump, distorting the facts about Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein to distract from the disgraced billionaire's very real connection to Bill and Hillary Clinton. If anything, the new revelations exonerate Trump. Online Trump haters are exhuming a phony line of attack, misstating the history between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. It should be no surprise that such a narrative was previously used by Hillary Clinton and her flunkies to distract from the Clintons' extensive and financially beneficial relationship with rapist and sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. That Trump knew and was at social gatherings with Jeffrey Epstein is accurate. Since 2021, it has been publicly known that Trump was only on Epstein's plane once, but I don't think it was I can't remember the name of it, plane once, and that was with his wife, Marla Maples, and their daughter, Tiffany. Trump never visited Epstein's island nor Epstein's New York residence. Having reviewed all of the FAA records on Epstein's plane, they'll say, well, Donald Trump could get it removed. No, you can't. When I wrote my book, The Clintons' War on Women, I know that the Trumps were on Epstein's plane only once. The Epstein story is a twisted one. Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ryder insisted that he gave the state's attorney enough evidence from a 6-month undercover investigation to charge Epstein with 35 incidents of child sex trafficking and multiple counts of rape of a minor. Chief Ryder was shocked when the state's attorney filed the sweetheart plea deal that Epstein's high-priced lawyers, including Roy Black, Gerald Alan Dershowitz, and former U.S. Solicitor Ken Starr, remember the Starr report, secured. The state's attorney, who gave Epstein a slap on the wrist, immediately resigned and formed a private law firm, which began immediately providing legal services to several of Epstein's accomplices. Wow. Trump broke with Epstein prior to Epstein's prosecution in Florida. Epstein should have gone down for sex trafficking. Instead, Epstein was allowed to plead to 1 count of solicitation. Hey, you know what it was? Somebody got to that U.S. attorney in D.C. and said, Give him a sweetheart deal or he'll run his mouth and we're all going down. A shocking plea deal that required him to serve a 15-month sentence in the air-conditioned Palm Beach County jail, where he only had to stay in jail from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. So it was overnight house arrest. Wow. And where he often had his gourmet meals brought in. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office operated more like Epstein's personal security detail as they transported him during his daytime business activities or on his leisure time, at his Palm Beach mansion. When Palm Beach Police Chief Ryder took his concerns about the state's attorney's soft plea deal with Epstein on the U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, Acosta rubber stamped the state plea deal and sealed the record. After many years of litigation, the Palm Beach Post ultimately obtained the documents that proved that the Bush Justice Department instructed Acosta to give Epstein a pass. In preparation for his confirmation hearings in the U.S. Senate, when he was appointed Secretary of Labor by President Donald Trump, Acosta told U.S. Senate staffers that if asked about his disposition of the Epstein case as U.S. attorney, he would say that the DOJ told him that Epstein worked for the CIA and that the matter needed to be closed and the file legally sealed. We don't know if that's true, though, or if he was just saying, BSing and saying, I just say that, and that's why, because everybody goes, oh, okay, you can't talk about it. After serving his state sentence, Epstein essentially returned to the management of his blackmail and sex trafficking operations. But for the dogged reporting of Julie K. Brown of the Miami Herald, whose exposure of the facts about Epstein caused his subsequent indictment and his questionable suicide. Virginia Guthrie Roberts, she was married, is among the victims who sued Epstein for his sexual abuse. In her lawsuit deposition, she said she met billionaire Donald Trump once at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion and that Trump was a complete gentleman who she never saw acting inappropriately. Through her attorneys, Griffer, whatever her name is, also said that Trump was the only significant public figure within Epstein's orbit who was helpful to her attorneys. I watched that interview that her attorney did, and he said, we sent out letters to about 150 people that knew Epstein and were in his orbit and asked for any help from my client, and that Donald Trump was the only one that got back and said, yeah, I'll give you anything you want on him. So, in other words, the whole thing was nonsense, and Elon needs to grow up. Right? Hold on, let's see. No speak English tonight, Rich? Yeah. Lo siento. No entiendo. Muy bueno. Let's see. 911 on the list. LOL. Yeah. Jufrey. Oh, geez. Yeah, Virginia got suicided. And she said, like all along, you know, I am not suicidal. I love my life. So if I'm dead, it wasn't suicide. Unreal. Why do so few see it after a decade of it? I don't know. Okay. Let's see what's next. I read enough of the Elon stuff. Here we go. This is great. It's J.D. Vance again, and it says he tortures an interviewer after he tries insulting him. But watch, it's actually pretty cool.
There are politicians out there who are...
Watch this.
They've just been politicians. But you are someone who was an intellectual first. Some people don't like the word intellectual, but I mean it in the good sense of the term. You were writing for National Review. You were at the bar late at night arguing about and helping shape these ideas that you are now...
I come here for free and you insult me and you call me an intellectual.
Remind
me that I wrote for National Review. What an asshole this guy is.
That's fair.
I just love that the vice president of the United States said that word. I mean, think about that, guys. He actually said that word and he knew he was on camera. It's like, wow. Maxwell, too. He was a nose. Let's see. When you knew too much. Intellectual. Yeah, actually, he is an intellectual. If you've ever read his stuff or listened to him. You said something earlier, Special K. Let me see if I can find it. I had a question about it. Hold on. A lot more than Blake. Yeah, he was. If you read, this isn't it, but if you read Whitney Webb's book, United States Under Blackmail, great book. It basically is about how our intelligence services and intelligence services around the world, all the nasty stuff they've done to their own people and to foreign people, and that it was the whole reason that created a Jeffrey Epstein, the need for a Jeffrey Epstein in the first place. Let me see, where is it? No, I can't find it. Oh well, damn it! Arabs for flying carpets at the air show. I didn't see that earlier. Let's see, Chuck Schumer, Trump's tariffs. Yeah, here we go. This is just a fast one. So Trump's tariffs would cut the budget deficits by $2.8 trillion. His tariffs alone. Think about that. The Congressional Budget Office, CBO, projects that recent U.S. tariff increases will reduce federal deficits by $2.8 trillion over the next decade. Okay, a decade, right? But still, that means it's going in the right direction. They're going to go down, right? That's all there is to that. I love when they go, well, for the next 10 years. Oh, wait a minute. 10 billion? That's a billion a year? That's nothing. They spend that in an afternoon. After Vance 2 terms, Miller gets 2 terms. You mean Steve Miller? Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him. A lot of people hate his guts because he beats them in the arena of ideas. We like Elon. We love Trump. There you go. This might be a reason why he wants to get back in Trump's good graces. Elon Musk's stock plummets among Republicans. Elon Musk's stock among House Republicans is sinking as the tech billionaire's crusade against the party's big, beautiful bill and President Trump himself boils over. Republicans are broadly brushing off the billionaire's campaign against the legislation, saying it will not have much, if any, impact on the bill's chances of passing through Congress. I don't think it's going to get through the Senate, and that's because of Republicans. We got something on Lindsey Graham, too. He's in big doo-doo trouble, which is a good thing. Musk's call for his followers to lobby members against the measure isn't blowing up phone lines on Capitol Hill. And despite Musk, the richest man in the world, spending $250 million to boost the party in 2024, lawmakers are utterly unconcerned about the possibility of the tech mogul opting out of the midterms or working against them. Instead, House Republicans are publicly criticizing Musk for how he has approached his political fight against the mega bill and personal battle against Trump, and openly saying that Musk's influence with the Republicans is plunging just about as fast as Tesla's stock price did Thursday afternoon. You know, I think that's one of the reasons as well why he did it, why he went vicious, savage on Trump. Endurance, Scott Pressler. What's wrong? Scott Pressler. Who am I thinking of? Tax noiseman. Activist, raised the organized Republican Party in Virginia. Yeah, Scott Pressler. I have a picture of myself with him. What do you mean? Yeah, Scott Pressler did an awful lot in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I went to one of the it wasn't a rally, it was I went to it was a theater to watch the debate between Kamala and Trump, and he was one of the guys there that was one of the announcers, so I got a couple pictures with him. What a nice guy he is, too. He'll stand there and talk to you as long as you want to talk to him about stuff. What's that? I've heard the U.S. spending 25% of their GDP, interest in the national debt rising. Yeah, it's unsustainable. Yeah, that's what Trump is trying to get rid of. But they're saying, he's raising the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. But what he's doing is that's being used in order to be able to handle the amount of growth that's coming in. Because, I mean, Trump has already gotten, I think I forget what they call it, but it's $13 trillion he secured from companies around the world that are coming here and building in the United States for jobs, jobs, jobs. And what he wants to do is, instead of us buying all our crap from China, he wants to manufacture all the crap that we buy here, so that we buy we buy American crap. Yeah, I know. I wanted him to head the RNC as well. I lobbied for that, but who am I, right? So, yeah, he did a really good job. He turned, I think, 5 counties red in Pennsylvania. He was responsible for that. And he was so organized, too. Yeah, I'm really glad he's on our side. So, Chuck Schumer, Scott Jennings. Here we go. It's another Scott Jennings moment. You gotta love it. So let's see, what can we do? Scott Jennings. Here we go. Says, watch Scott Jennings stun unhinged CNN journalists who blame both parties for violence endorsed by the left. Here we go. Gotta hear this.
Problem with violence. It is in its heart right now.
I don't think it is only the left. I mean, you have literally seen people on both sides committing violence. I think that the problem is not
where are they
left.
on the right.
I think it is the extremes on both sides of the party. And that is what's happening. Like they're the loudest voices, whether the leaders want them or not. And they're the ones who tend to be the most violent. I don't think that's fair to say it's only the left. I mean,
but why is it happening? Why do late night comedians go on TV and encourage or coddle or give lip service to this vandalism of what went on with Tesla dealerships and so on? Why are there so many prominent people who are like, well, I totally get why Luigi Mangione would murder a guy. Like, why? I don't understand.
Listen, I'm not for vandalism, but like
it's more than that. They firebomb these things. Like it's obviously
dangerous, but it's happening on both sides.
You hear what the liberals do? They say, "Wow, nobody got hurt. Doesn't matter. It's still violence. You blow up somebody's car, that's violence. Violence can only be if somebody's hurt. Nonsense. You go to prison for blowing up a car. It's violence. That's what they do. They try to downplay. Oh, there's no violence there. Well, yeah, there is.
What person on the right is committing violence today?
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, when you're in power, you don't tend to be the ones that are doing that. But I think after they lost the election in 2020, there was a mob.
And there was a mob in 2017 when Trump was inaugurated, and they set cars on fire down in D.C., and they smashed windows to businesses and government buildings. People were arrested left and right. She'll never mention something like that.
And a person died, and it was a riot.
A person died because they were murdered by an incompetent cop, a Capitol police officer who shouldn't have been on the job in the first place.
Capitol. It was crazy.
It was a terrible day, and it should not have happened.
It was a horrible day. And
let me just check my calendar, and it was 5.5 years ago.
Can we also talk about the fact that someone broke into Nancy Pelosi's house and violently beat?
And he's going to try and say that was a Trump conservative? That's what she's saying?
Her husband.
You're saying that homeless drug addict is a conservative?
Right.
Well, I mean.
See the look on her face? Well, he got me. Oh, guys, how do these people look themselves in the mirror when they go online and talk like that? Mostly peaceful speech protesters, summer of love, arson, rape, murder. Exactly. State-approved riots. Exactly. Pelosi's husband liked the... okay. All right. Wait a second. Both sides were treated like the Holocaust when Trump said it. But when the liberal uses it in light of the violence, yeah, exactly. See, you guys get this stuff. Routinely took hammer. Okay, all right. I can't say that either. Oh, hang on. I got to check my email and see if I've been demonetized yet. Hold on. YouTube Live. Nope, not yet. But it's coming. Let's see. Wow, I made people go nuts on CloudHub. I don't even know what I said. I said something on CloudHub and everybody's going crazy. I'm getting all kinds of emails. Yes. And I accept that word. A lot of people say, you can't say that word now. Why? Why can't you say that word? Let's see. Chuck Schumer, Biden, Clinton. Yeah, here you go. This is the ultimate, guys. Joe Biden. Because everybody's saying, he did the auto pen and all that. Well, he says, Biden claims, I made the decisions as Republicans investigate White House auto pen use. Look at him. I made those decisions. Yeah, warm diarrhea brains made those. Former President Joe Biden doubled down on his usage. Why do these pop up? Doubled down on his usage of an auto pen on Wednesday, claiming that he had control of the White House throughout his tenure. I just didn't like writing. Alleging that senior officials concealed the former president's cognitive impairment using auto pen signings. President Donald Trump requested an investigation into Biden's administration. Quote, I made the decisions about the pardons, executive orders, legislation, and nobody believes he sat down and read over 8,000 pardon petitions with all the documentation that comes with it, the witnesses, the pro and the cons. Nobody thinks he did that. Any suggestion that I didn't is ridiculous and false. Yeah, just like any suggestion that you knew what you were doing in the 4 years is ridiculous and false. This is nothing more than a distraction by Donald Trump and congressional Republicans who are working to push disastrous legislation that would cut, I wonder how many times he said excuse me because he screwed up, would cut essential programs like Medicaid and raise the cost on American families, all to pay for tax breaks for the ultra wealthy and big corporations. They're just stuck on stupid. Every time Trump gave us a tax cut, everybody that paid taxes got a tax cut. In fact, percentage-wise, the middle class and working class families got the highest percentage, but they didn't get as much money. That's because liberals don't do math very well. On Wednesday, Trump urged Attorney General Pam Bondi to launch an inquiry against senior Biden officials, claiming they may have plotted to mislead the public about his mental health and exercised presidential authority by using the auto pen. Well, that's exactly what they did. Well, we got to play like, well, we have to find out. Come on. We all know it. That investigation should be done in minutes. Here you go, right here. Here's one from Conservative Brief that says that Joe Biden's a liar yet again. Watchdog finds no evidence Biden knew of climate executive orders, demands answers on the auto pen. A leading pro-energy group is once again demanding an investigation into several Biden holy crap, this thing pops up every time. Biden executive actions on climate that may have been signed by an auto pen without any confirmation from Joe Biden that he even knew about them. Look, we saw the Speaker of the House, okay? We saw Mike Johnson sitting, he told us that he sat with the president, with Biden, and said, why did you sign that executive order putting a moratorium on the liquid natural gas, the LNGs? And he said, I didn't do that. And he goes, sir, you did. He said, it's on the docks in Louisiana, and we were supposed to ship that to Europe. They desperately need it. And he goes, I didn't do it. And he goes, sir, with all due respect, I can go out to your girl out there and she would get the paperwork. And he goes, oh, you're talking about liquid? No, we signed something that said we're going to do a study on it. That tells me that his people, his progressive puppet masters, that they lied to him and said, oh, you're signing this. It's just to do an investigation, a study on LNG. Power the Future, a nonprofit fighting for American energy jobs, reviewed 8 executive orders that marked major changes in U.S. energy policy. They say there's no record of Biden ever speaking about any of them publicly, raising serious concerns that the president didn't actually sign them and may not have even known they existed. Now, last week, we did a story where they caught they had all of his staffers said, we push Biden through, we get him through however we have to, and then we can run the country while we only bring him out every now and then to show his face. He can sit down, watch reruns of Matlock eating grapes and ice cream, right? So come on. He didn't know about half the things that were going on. These are not obscure bureaucratic memos. These were foundational shifts in American energy policy, yet not once did Joe Biden speak about them publicly. Power the Future founder and executive director Daniel Turner said to Fox News. Yeah, so I mean, come on, cut us a break. They insulted us every day for 4 years, and now they want to continue while they're in obscurity. Please. Like a puppy. Who? Who's like a puppy? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Send the docs. The boy wasting lives. Yeah. Sitting on the docks of the boy. Is it boy or bay? I thought you said boy. My eyesight's getting bad. Here you go. I call it the Trump effect. Ready? Watch this. The Trump effect. Change. U.S. Army meets 2025 recruiting goal 4 months ahead of schedule. They couldn't pay people enough to join under Biden. But now they've already reached the goal. And it's June. The United States Army is firing on all cylinders again. Thank God. I am shocked that while we had soldiers in dresses, right, that we didn't get attacked. Like here, kinetic war. They just met their 2025 recruiting goals and did so 4 months ahead of schedule. During the Biden administration, recruitment was down across the board. Every branch of the U.S. military was struggling to meet recruitment goals because they made you get a jab. They made you sit with people that were, undesirable to be around in a macho atmosphere of the military, right? This is what Democrats and the media were afraid of with Pete Hegseth becoming defense secretary. They weren't afraid that he would fail. They were afraid he would succeed. Exactly. So we don't need to read anymore. Let's see, Anglo-Saxon. Yeah. Let's see. Hegseth mainly his Dave. Yeah. Yeah. But what else we got? I left my home in Scranton. Kids in the pool. Touched my legs. Watched corn pop roll in. Yeah, rusty blades. And the chain, right? The chain and the rusty blades. Oh, my goodness. And you know what? He lived in Scranton until he was 4 years old. And then they moved to Long Island for a little bit. Then they went down to Delaware. So he says, I grew up in Scranton. He did like hell. And the people of Scranton, my sister will attest to it. They hate him. And they always have. They never liked him. I'm questioning if there was a corn pop. California, the Trump effect. Yeah, Tucker Carlson obliterates warmonger. Yeah, that was one. Tucker Carlson obliterates warmonger. Mark Levin. Yikes. Former CIA. Yeah, here we are. Lindsey Graham. We got to watch this. Lindsey Graham profited off the war. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Here we go. We got the commercials we got to get through. Sorry. All right. Well,
the perfect gift for the Baldy in your life. This Father's Day, get up to 70% off the Baldy Pro by
And let me say something about Senator Graham. There will be news coming out in the next couple of months about how he has profited financially off of money that came out of Ukraine, laundered through Latvia, and made its way into his bank account.
Latvia.
And we're talking significant amounts of money. Department of Justice is looking at it.
All right, those are serious allegations leveled by CIA officer, former CIA officer Larry Johnson.
About it. So we're going to be hearing more about that. So I think they're going to have a special election when he has to resign, right? Let's see, what do we got? Maxine Water. Yeah. Did you guys see my video on Maxine? Yeah, she's, you know what? I think she still doesn't live in her own district, which is a law. You have to live in your district. And she doesn't. She lives in like a $5 million mansion. And all she's ever done has been a congresswoman. And it stinks down here. Well, Lou, I heard the Bidens like own that state. All the crap that they've done. They own it. Mostly illegal. Oh, thanks, Sheila. Appreciate that. Yeah, Baldy Pro. I was watching that too. I'm like, what the heck is that? They're actually calling it that. Yeah, where are the indictments? Tucker Carlson, let's see, breaking third. Yeah, and get this now. We're back on AutoPen, guys. Just this last one. Breaking third AutoPen signature discovered amid federal investigation. We thought there were only 2 different auto pens. There's 3. A third auto pen was discussed. This is like ridiculous. Even Trump said, he goes, look, we use an auto pen. He goes, but I do it for like, happy birthday cards or, like a memo that's going out to the public. He goes, you don't do it for legislation that's going to change lives. A third auto pen was discovered on Thursday amid a federal investigation into who ran the United States while Biden was in office. This is a serious thing, too. It's like the president of the United States had a warped brain, and so somebody else was running the country, but the Democrats couldn't tell you that. I mean, they're like the Soviets. The Soviets did that with Brezhnev. Brezhnev had a stroke, and he was brain dead. So they would sit him like this in front of the TV camera, and they would talk for him on a mic, and his lips didn't move. And you can go to prison if you said, how come his lips aren't moving? Oh, he's studying to be a ventriloquist. Oh, okay, yeah. But I mean, that's what they did with this guy, except they would dope him up when he had to go out for like 45 minutes or something and speak. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is also spearheading a congressional investigation into Biden's health cover-up. On Wednesday, President Trump directed his White House counsel, David Warrington, in consultation with Attorney General Pam Bondi, to investigate whether certain individuals conspired to deceive the public about Biden's mental state and unconstitutionally exercise the authorities and responsibilities of the president. Yeah, because if they used an auto pen to be able to get something through and Biden didn't even know about it, they could go to prison for that. Now, no one's going to go to prison because no one ever does when they have a little D next to their name, but still, they should never be hired again by anybody, never trusted again. Trump announced today President Donald Trump signed a presidential memorandum directing an investigation into who ran the United States while President Biden was in office. And you notice the Democrats aren't really fighting back. Norman, this is ridiculous. Of course Joe Biden was right now because they know he wasn't. And I think they got a lot of evidence out there against them knowing that he wasn't, and they went along with it. Memorandum directs an investigation into whether certain individuals conspired to deceive the public about Biden's mental state and exercise the authority, yada, yada, yada. Also mandates an investigation into the circumstances surrounding Biden's purported execution of the numerous executive actions during his final years in office, examining policy documents signed with an auto pen and authorize its use and the validity of the resulting presidential policy decisions. Think of that. All that stuff that he did to ruin the country. Let's see what
we have another update for you. This is just uncovered by our team today. We had previously disclosed that there were 2 auto pen signatures. So think about like 2 versions of the same signature applied over and over again. But now today we've discovered
Jeremiah, good to see you, man.
Auto pen signature type that was used on proclamations. So think of things like tariff related or the trans day of visibility, those types of documents. So what does that mean? Could mean a couple things. There could have been multiple auto pen machines. There could have been multiple settings, which then begs the question of, did multiple people have access to it? What were the control mechanisms? And it makes this look like it was very chaotic without ample control. And so we're very excited that President Trump has, taken up and ordered his Department of Justice to launch an investigation based off our findings. Comer in the House, and then over in the Senate, there's another investigation. So it's full speed ahead, and we got a lot of useful information that we're cooperating with them on.
Unreal. Everything about the Biden administration was a lie. Think about it. Everything about the Obama administration was a lie. Like everything. Let's see. What is next? I think I have one down here that I didn't do. Yeah. The Supremes. We got 3 really good rulings. What's up, Jeremiah? It's good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. Let's go. Here you go. Supremes deliver a big win for gun makers in Smith & Wesson versus Mexico. It's been a mixed year for Second Amendment advocates, but on Thursday came a significant win from the Supreme Court on that front. The court announced a decision in Smith & Wesson Brands Incorporated et al. Petitioners v. Estados Unidos Mexicanos. in this case, Mexico, in effect, sued American gun manufacturers for the plague of violence that is sweeping Mexico. Next thing you know, Mexican fat people are going to sue the fork and knife industry for their health problems. The Supreme Court, in its decision, noted that Mexico's case runs afoul of the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, or PLCA. Best of all, the decision was unanimous. Now, you can't get these people, these 9 people, to agree on what's for lunch. So here's the main point of the decision. Because Mexico's complaint does not plausibly allege that the defending gun manufacturers aided and abetted gun dealers' unlawful sales of firearms to Mexican traffickers, PLCAA bars the lawsuit. Thank you. There are a couple of points in the decision that explain the court's reasoning. Federal aiding and abetting law reflects the view that a person may be responsible for a crime he has not personally carried out if he deliberately helps another complete its commission. To aid and abet a crime, a person must take an affirmative act in furtherance of the offense and intend to facilitate its commission, or as Judge Learned Hand, boy, there's a joke in there, stated, these requisites must participate in a crime as in something that he wishes to bring about and seek by his action to make it succeed. Second, aiding and abetting usually requires misfeasance rather than nonfeasance. Absence and independent duty of act, failures, omissions, or inactions will rarely support liability. And third, routine and general activity that happens on occasion to assist crime, in essence, incidentally, is unlikely to count as aiding and abetting. Thus, for instance, an ordinary merchant does not become liable for criminal misuse of her goods simply by knowing that in some fraction of cases, misuse will occur. So that's a good thing, but I'm just shocked that, like, Ketanji Brown Jackson, look at this. Hola, bang, bang. That's funny. Yeah, I'm just surprised that one of the 3 lefties on the court didn't have a problem. Hello, sis. Carrie Ann, every time you texted me, it like bleeped out and my mic went, and I'm like, and then I said, I'm like live, and you kept texting. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is she doing? What's up, sis? Tell everybody what you bought, what you just got. She traded her old car in. That was a good song. When we were kids, it was. Hey, Carrie Ann. Yeah, tell everybody what you got. I think she got a Kia. The Sportage. Hold on. Kia Sportage. Nice. Oh, they're nice. Okay. What color did you get? Sis, I'm asking you a question. Oh, okay, good. What color was it? All right, let's just do this. Here we go. Okay. Silver. All right. Well, I'm just going to show the one. I think that's the 2022, though. Yeah, it is. All right. Yeah, where am I? That's good, sis. Congrats. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah. A sister of Rich is a sister of mine. There you go, brother. Yeah. She got wheels. Yeah. She traded her old one in. That's good. Yeah. My little sis. Let's see. Claims I made. Yeah. Hold on. Let's see. U.S. sanctions, International Criminal Court judges. Patel warns China. South Korea, the Liberal Party just gave the GOP a masterclass. Yeah, here we go. This is great. South Korea. There we go. South Korea's Liberal Party just gave our GOP a masterclass in raw political power. There you go. Have you heard South Korea pulled a North Korea and just crushed their enemy into dust? It all started when the liberals impeached the right-wing president. Then they triggered a new election, which, of course, they won. And now they're feverishly working to expand their high court to lock in a permanent liberal majority. Steve Bannon saw it coming back in May. He knew our South Korean allies were headed for serious trouble. Boy, Steve's pretty big these days on the camera.
It's what we went through from election day in 2020 all the way through the election 2024. Election integrity is top of the list in South Korea. Our most vital ally is now under the gun.
There you go. So, how did I lose that? All right. Oh, yeah, here we go. And again, this is not me saying it. I am just reading from a story. Minneapolis college graduation looks like a scene straight out of Somalia. Watch this. All right, let me just read. A disturbing video is going viral for all the wrong reasons. It was taken during a college graduation at a Minneapolis university, and the reason it's getting so much attention is because it doesn't look like it was shot in the United States. The scene looks like something straight out of Somalia. America records a college graduation. Wow. Minnesota, I can't read tonight. It seriously looks like over 90% of the entire school is from Somalia. There's so many Somalians in this. Any place you walk, you'll see everywhere, what the hell. This does not look like America. So their racism came out. But okay, let's take a look at the video. Is there?
Oh God! Any place you walk, you see all of that.
Surprised he's not getting his butt kicked.
Everywhere. What the hell?
Let's watch it again.
There's so many Somalians in this bitch. Oh God! Any place you walk, you see all of that.
Well, when you think about it, a lot of Somalis live there, right? And so if they're graduating college, probably for the first time in their family's lives, they're going to have a boatload of family members coming over to partake, right? So, I don't have a problem with that as long as they were here legally. If they're not here legally, get them out. Yeah. Mogadishu, Minnesota. Hey, what's up, Chris? Yeah. Oh, man. Obviously not Somalia, as no one is washing in cow urine. Oh, God. Okay. If South Korea turns into something close to their north neighbors, that puts a huge problem for Japan. Yeah, absolutely right. Trump should annex it and call it Mogadishu. Oh, that's hilarious, man. Mogadishu. Our town is full of them. Not many work. Yeah. You know what? That's a big thing. There was a study that was done recently in the United States anyway, and they said that in the United States and all the communities that are large Muslim, that they do not contribute even 10% to the community of what they take out of the community. Like they can't, like I know in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar was involved in getting these people to get on all the rosters, I guess, to get on the lists, to get every piece of state and federal welfare they possibly could. And then they ran scams on child daycare centers. They would say, okay, so you have 2 kids, right? And you don't have a husband, all right? Or you do have a husband, but he's busy plotting the destruction of the West, so he can't work, right? So here's what you can do. You turn your basement. Here's the guidelines that you have to do to make it fit up to par. You turn your basement into a child daycare center. You have a bunch of neighbor girlfriends who also have 90 children each. And so you bring them all down here as well. And then you get money from the state, which is a grant that comes from the feds. So the feds do a grant to the state. The state gives you the money to help you run this daycare center in your house. Bring it up to code, because you can't have it not up to code for the children, right? And then they get money. They get paid for every child that's in there. So then you have that, and they will run that daycare from, say, 7 in the morning until 12 noon. And then one of the women whose child is in your daycare Well, she's going to start her daycare, and that starts at 12:01 until 4. And all the kids just shift down the block and go into that house where she gets money from the state and the feds to run that daycare center and for every single child. And this was a scam that Ilhan Omar was involved in. She taught them how to do it. And she'll come out and go, well, it's not really a scam if it's legal. Really, Ilhan? Like, so they created this safety net to become a safety hammock. Yeah, all financed by, yeah, you're exactly right. It was USAID that financed a lot of it. Yeah, some refugees make so much they go back home, Africa, for vacation and holidays. Yeah, that is true too. Now, did you hear that the remittances back to Mexico have dropped drastically because they're not bringing people in anymore? We shut the border down. There were a bunch of illegals that were coming in, getting work, because not every illegal was a rapist and a murderer, right? But a lot of them were. But all the illegals would come in and they'd get work and they'd send that money home, which, I don't have a problem with, except they're illegal. But, as long as they're not committing crimes and all that, you can go after the criminal ones first and then go after the others, right? But they were sending the remittances back. But now that he's not bringing them in, they're not sending money home. What's up, Bass? Good to see you, man. All right, what is next? Let's see, Biden holdovers. Yeah, here's another good one. Boy, the Biden people are really catching hell. My brain wasn't fully... Biden holdovers in the DOJ are now arguing that 25-year-old women are like children without brains fully developed. Can you hear this? My brain wasn't fully developed. Another government witness, Dana Gill, took a less mystical and more pseudoscientific approach to explaining her time at One Taste. It's a big crapshoot that's going on with the Biden DOJ that started going after him. My brain wasn't fully developed. Gill was 25 years old and a college graduate when she started to associate with One Taste. I was so young, she told the court on May 14. My prefrontal cortex wasn't done developing. Really? At 25, college graduate? That's either an indictment on her or on our college system. Probably both. The suggestion here is that a 25-year-old woman is too young to legally make decisions for herself, an implication that could have serious consequences far beyond this prosecution. But believing that 25-year-olds aren't capable for their actions isn't Gill's only unusual idea. She also seems to think that it's coercive to talk about or do things in front of her. While at One Taste, Gill entered into a sham marriage with someone who needed a green card, getting paid $10,000 for it. She told the court that she only did it because a few other people she knew in One Taste, neither of them defendants, had green card marriages, and this normalized the idea for her. Can you believe this? LAMO. The suggestion here is that a 25-year-old woman is too young to legally make decisions for herself, an implication that could have serious consequences beyond that. But let's go down here. Likewise, Gill, who is now a Methodist pastor, became a sugar baby and then started doing sex work because her friend in One Taste, Aubrey, was doing it. Gill testified. Aubrey, talking about her own experience, normalized prostitution for you? Yeah, it became normalized for me. This is like a crazy thing that's going on because this has been going on for a long time. Criminalizing female regret. She went on, let's put it, liberal female regret. She went on to suggest that hearing Aubrey, a friend who is not either of the defendants, mind you, or even in One Taste leadership, describing her own positive experiences with sex work, amounted to coercion over a period of time. Gee, you think? We don't have to read the rest because I might get in trouble with this platform, but I just think it's hilarious that people will go to any length to get out of trouble. My prefrontal cortex was not fully developed. Think about it. Yeah, baby. There you go. I'm sort of local. What's that? Let's see. I'm trying to get work near Woodsy Field on Monday. Oh, cool. What's next? I got to get rid of these. Get them out of here. Let's see. What are we doing here? Religious freedom bills could fundamentally shift Texan culture. Yeah, let's do that one. This is the Populist Times. So in Texas, a religious freedom bill could fundamentally shift Texan culture. Texas went all in on religious freedom legislation in May, championing a series of bills that could fundamentally shift the culture of the state. Texas lawmakers are moving a series of significant religious freedom and pro-family bills through the House and Senate, sending them to the desk of Governor Greg Abbott to sign into law, providing the state with the foundation to fundamentally shift Texan culture. Good, because the libnuts, now they're going to complain, but the libnuts have been doing the exact opposite for years, trying to turn it blue. SB 10, Senate Bill 10, the 10 Commandments bill was introduced by State Senator Phil King and brings the religious text back to classroom walls and curriculum. The 10 Commandments are part of our Texas and American story. They're ingrained into who we are as a people and as a nation. Today, our students cry out for moral clarity, for the statement of right and wrong that they represent. If our students don't know the 10 Commandments, they will never understand the foundation for much of American history and law. You want to know something? He's right. You think of all the crap that goes on with the young people today. I mean, there's a lot of good young people, right? My son being one of them. Yeah, I'm biased. I don't care. But a lot of young people today, like, they don't know their rear end from their elbow, right? And it's because there's no moral character being taught. Civics used to be taught in classrooms to teach you how to be a good citizen. They haven't taught that in decades. And think about it. They let you do anything you want in the classroom now in public schools. There's like no security. They go nuts in these. I talk to teachers that I know. They're like, yeah, my students go absolutely nuts. Half the time I'm terrified. SB 11 protects freedom of prayer in schools, allowing students who receive parental consent to opt into a period of prayer and the reading of the Bible or other religious texts. Now, guys, the left is going to lose their minds over this. Separation of church and state. There is no such animal. Doesn't exist. Sorry, just doesn't. Children who receive parental consent will also be allowed to attend religious courses like Bible studies during school hours off campus. Now, how much you want to bet that what they're saying is true, that there will be a cultural shift in Texas because of this? So you won't have as many kids, partying on weekends, shooting other kids. You won't see those beatdowns in parks where you got 50 people punching the living hell out of each other. You won't see any of that stuff. Because they're doing this. And I guarantee you it will work for these people. And you'll be able to compare that to other states and even counties that don't embrace it inside Texas. HB 3284. This bill establishes the creation of a commission to study and promote marriage and healthy families throughout the state of Texas. The commission has until November 2026 to present its findings. Texas follows states like Arkansas, where lawmakers are moving swiftly to protect religious freedoms while promoting the family values that create American stability. The left has been against two things mostly: the family, the nuclear family in America, and religion, Christianity mostly, right? Because they know that those are the two things that bind Americans together, that and our founding fathers. But during the first progressive wave, which was the turn of the 20th century through 2015, the progressives went out of their way to destroy the nuclear family and to destroy the reputations of the founding fathers. They wrote books and trashed, they trashed Washington and Jefferson and, Monroe and all them with lies, packed with lies, Benjamin Franklin with lies, right? And they screwed our legal system up by no longer teaching in schools constitutional law, but to go with case law instead. I mean, they did all these things, but they knew that the nuclear family and the founding fathers and God were the three things that bound Americans together. Like, for example, we have pubs today, right? You got baseball teams, softball teams, whatever, right? And they're part of that pub. They'll get the pub t-shirt on. They're sponsored by the pub, right? Well, back in the day, they had something similar, but they weren't playing sports. They had clubs that would discuss the Constitution. Yeah, believe it or not. Like in the early part of the 20th century, they were still discussing, parts of the Constitution because the country was still being built at that point. All right. And they would talk about the founding fathers. Like, we talk about sports figures and games. They would talk about the founding fathers. They really did that, getting drunk, talking about the founding fathers. Can you imagine? And so they knew, the progressives knew that if they attacked these things, that they would be able to just move their progressivism to replace the void. What's up, Linda? Good to see you. Let's see. American Revival. Yeah, I think we beat that to death. Let's see. What else is here? Trump got a new mission. Yeah, this is great. You know, Tom Homan's going to be thrilled about this. There you go. Trump's got a new mission that'll kick deportations into overdrive. You got to love it. When it comes to illegal immigration, Trump isn't just restoring order. He's now raising the bar. While most politicians would be happy just undoing some of Biden's open borders disaster, Trump is shifting his mission into overdrive. He's not settling for the status quo. He's aiming for historic levels of enforcement and deportation and getting results. The America First message is clear. This country is no longer a doormat. Gone is the old mindset within ICE that only criminals should be targeted. That outdated approach is being replaced with a new mission, one that actually enforces our immigration laws. What a concept. No more loopholes, no more free passes. Trump's taking the gloves off, and two of his top dogs are leading the charge. A new report reveals that two of Trump's most trusted enforcers, Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem, are putting the pressure on ICE to ramp things up. They want to see 3,000 arrests per day. Those are big numbers. That's not just a policy tweak. It's a full-blown mission to purge. This is just a strategic and very aggressive plan to drain Biden's illegal flood and send a clear message to the world. If you came here illegally, your time is up, violent criminal or not. That's good. Stephen Miller confirmed it live air. Stephen Miller, is there a video, I hope? Yes, I love this guy. I just love listening to him. All right, here we go. Because he just says it like it is.
Under President Trump's leadership, we are looking to set a goal of a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day. And President Trump is going to keep pushing to get that number up higher each and every single day so we can get all of the Biden illegals that were flooded into our country for 4 years out of our country. And we can't take the risk of letting these Biden illegals roam around freely so that the next American daughter can get raped, the next American kid can get murdered, the next American family can get splintered and torn apart by people that came into this country unchecked, uncontrolled, unvetted, uninvited by the American people.
I love this guy.
As to the reconciliation bill, Sean, there's been so much said about how incredible the big, beautiful bill is. The largest tax cut and reform in American history. The most significant energy reform, unlocking American energy in American history. Deregulation like we have never seen before. The most significant, largest welfare reform in American history. But the bill also includes the complete fulfillment of President Trump's campaign promises on every aspect of immigration and homeland security so that we can have permanently the safest, strongest, most secure immigration system in American history.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, he doesn't mess around. He brings the receipts too. He runs America First Legal, which is they fight against woke policies in states and in the feds. And if you got fired or you got imprisoned over some woke, stupid law, they will come to your defense and they won't charge you. Oh, cool. You guys be crazy. Let's see. Yeah, this is great. Van Jones, you know, it's like he's an intelligent guy, and a lot of times he comes out and says, hey, guys, they just whooped our behinds. You know, they beat us badly because they knew all the tech to use, and we didn't. We were laughing at them because they didn't go knocking on doors in Philly, but they won Philly, you know. But then he says something stupid like this. It's just unbelievable. Van Jones, Trump should immediately fire, investigate, and prosecute all of Doge. Thursday on CNN's Anderson Cooper 360, left-wing political commentary. He's a communist. He is a communist. Van Jones said President Donald Trump should fire, investigate, and prosecute all the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge employees. Jones said, look, a couple of things. Well, we could probably listen to him. Hold on.
President Obama, and David Axelrod, CNN chief political analyst and a former senior advisor to President Obama. David, many did expect a falling out between Trump and Elon Musk to happen eventually. Did you think it would play out this?
If you don't know who this guy that he's talking about on the right here, David Axelrod, he was Barack Obama's magic man, right? He's the guy that got him elected to the state Senate and to the White House twice. It was David Axelrod.
Soon, he's a
scumbag.
Oh, my God. In a matter of days, we went from a gold key to blackjacks and brass knuckles to nuclear weapons. I mean, it was this. But you know what? When you look at the characters involved, is it all that surprising?
Dude, you guys lost all power everywhere. I think you should be worried about trying to convince the American people to elect you dog catcher. Okay? You got no room to say anything about what's going on with Trump and Musk.
First of all, let's set aside these professions of love that we've heard in the past few months. These are not sentimentalists. Elon Musk didn't become the richest man in the world by being a sentimentalist. Donald Trump did not become president of the United States by becoming a sentimentalist.
What does that have to do with anything?
Used each other. And the currency they were interested in was power, and they used each other to attain it. Musk voted for Joe Biden in 2020 by his own acknowledgement. Right. And what happened was Biden did not invite him to a meeting of automakers in the White House. He was deeply offended. He moved away from Biden, moved into the Trump camp. And
actually, that's not how it happened, you bonehead. He couldn't stand what the Biden administration was doing with censorship. He comes from South Africa, for goodness sake. He couldn't stand that it was government-sanctioned censorship, violations of the First Amendment, and it was a fascist move. I mean, they say Trump's a fascist. What do you think having the government force a private corporation to violate the First Amendment for them because they can't do it? That is classic fascist moves. Think about it. So he came along and he bought Twitter. And they hated him for it because he brought back free speech. And Twitter is known, X now is known as the public square in the United States and a lot of other countries too, but it's known as the town hall, the town square, whatever, and for speech and whatnot. And it's now not conservative, but you can say what you want without them censoring you. And that's what made him look. When you agree with the Constitution, okay, and then you start reading and go, you know what, I agree with that too. You are a conservative. See, people like David Axelrod, like they can't stand the Constitution because, and his guy Barack once said that he didn't like the Constitution because he thought it didn't go far enough. It didn't allow government to help people. That just shows a complete ignorance of what our Constitution really is.
And so, vengeance was a bit of the motive for him to come over in the first place. And he used the opportunity to gain power. And Trump handed to him the power and a bunch of gamers to wreak havoc.
They didn't wreak havoc, jackass. What they did was they figured out all the money that you guys were stealing from taxpayers, that you were sending to U.S. aid, who was then giving it to foreign NGOs, right? So that they could promote programs and policies that not only trashed the United States, but enhanced globalism around the world. That's what they were doing. They didn't cause any kind of chaos or havoc.
In the U.S. government, he put a guy who was deeply unstable genius as he may be, he's not a genius about government, deeply unstable.
And yet he did more to help the American taxpayers than the last, I would say 15, maybe 20 administrations. I mean, think about it. What he did, the money that he found, that even if it wasn't a lot of money, which it significantly is, that Doge discovered, and they're still discovering, okay? But when you think about it, just the very fact that we learned, right? Because if Kamala would have won, it would have been swept under the rug. Just like if Hillary would have won, the whole Crossfire Hurricane would have been, we would have learned nothing. They would have burned the documents by now. But think about it, just knowing that these creeps stole money from us, and it was supposed to go out through USA to promote the United States. They were doing no such thing. So, I mean, yeah, he acted like a child and he was vicious, but you know what? That doesn't take away from what he did for us, which you can't stand, David,
with a bunch of kids who knew the value of the price of everything and the value of nothing. And we're going to be digging out for years and generations from some of the things that they did. So this was...
Wait a minute. We're going to be digging out from what? We're going to be digging out for years to get that money back. That's what we're going to be digging out from. I mean, think about this, guys. He just said that. Unbelievable. I can't believe David Axelrod just trashed what Doge did. It's
ill-fated from the beginning, but it was really about the power.
One is,
this is Vance.
The power that Elon Musk still has is significant. Somebody said Trump has 3.5 more years. Elon has 40. He's a billionaire. He's got a long-term play.
I believe it was Elon Musk who said that.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Elon. Well, Elon's correct. He's good at math. But the other piece of it is those Doge employees, the people that Axelrod was just talking about, are very dangerous. If Donald Trump is smart, the first thing he's going to do is fire, investigate, and prosecute all of Elon's people who are all throughout government with their laptops downloading data right now. You
think he should prosecute them?
I don't think that.
Wait a minute. Wait. So Trump brings Elon in to do a job. It's draining the swamp. That's what they can't stand, guys. So he brings Elon in to drain the swamp. Elon can't. It's such a big job because it's a big swamp and lots of money that was stolen and hidden and yeah. So he brings in a bunch of people that work for him at Tesla and SpaceX. Okay, programmers, guys that know how to find things, okay, among data, right? And he brings them in and they do a damn good job. And now these guys are acting like they were criminals. No, when the president of the United States gives you the pass to come in and to do what you want to do, what he wants you to do, and do what you do best, that's called bringing in contractors. It's done every single day. You just don't like the fact that we're going to be, trust me, guys, we're going to be hearing a lot more of this over this year and next. Oh, they brought all these people. They can't stand that Doge found all that money.
That what they're doing is legal. A lot of them don't have the proper clearances. And I think that if you investigate, you'll find they've uploaded data into servers that are the wrong thing to do. So,
that's a lie. No one has reported that.
I think there should definitely be an investigation there. If Donald Trump is smart, the leverage that Elon has is he left, his kids didn't. They're still in there. So this fight, if it's going to be a fight that Donald Trump prevails on in the short term, go after Doge. Long term, he's got to steal the Republican Party to deal with an Elon Musk that's promising to spend money now and a decade from now.
David, do you think Musk got played by Donald Trump? I mean, that he used. I mean, you said they're both using each other.
Sorry, guys, I'm putting you through all this, but I just love to hear how these idiots actually think.
Who did it more effectively?
Well, I mean, Trump is president, and that's what he wanted. Musk has actually suffered financially as a result of this, and it could be worse if Trump really leans in. I mean, Tesla lost 14% of its value.
That's because your guys, your street thugs, set fire to all the Tesla dealerships. They attacked people who own Tesla cars. Do you hear this? He makes it sound like Trump calls Elon in to do work, and because of that work, well, it's not because of our guys, but because of Trump and DC and the work that they're doing, he lost all this stock in Tesla. No, it was because of you scumbags.
Today, because of this exchange between Trump and Musk. So I don't know that
this stuff is going to be forgotten by next month.
That he got played. But Donald Trump, like I said, he's not a sentimentalist. He uses people. He uses everybody. And
yeah, he uses us to bring $13 trillion worth of investment into the country, not for him, but for us. Yeah, he's using us. If that's using us, use us.
I think he used Trump, but Musk, but I think Musk.
Sure he did. Everybody at that level uses you for some reason, but Musk did what Trump asked him to do.
Musk used him as well, but we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that Musk does have, as Kara Swisher was just saying, quite a bit of power himself through the platform of X, through the money that he can spend, and the following, frankly, that he's built through this relationship with Trump.
So now you're going to say that's criminal as well?
Trump, that he can now turn against him. I think he's going to raise quite a bit of trouble around this bill that is already troubled on this issue. Now, I think I said yesterday, if he's concerned about deficits, perhaps he should offer and suggest others who have the means to do it that they should just go back to paying the tax rate they were paying a few years ago before this tax break. That would help solve some of these problems.
Democrats, every answer is we got to start taking more money from the American people.
I don't hear him saying that because he doesn't really.
Guys, he's saying this out loud. Of course, it's CNN, so nobody's watching. But I mean, he's saying this out loud.
I believe in government. He thinks it's all a scam.
It has been one of those situations where there's no idea how is this going to play out tomorrow.
No, and also, it's King Kong versus Godzilla.
Exactly.
And when you got King Kong fighting Godzilla, who gets trampled on are the villagers. Don't forget, the reason they're fighting is because Donald Trump wants to devastate Medicare and.
I can't listen to the lies anymore. Sorry. When they get into lies like that, Donald Trump wants to devastate Medicare. No, he doesn't. Point out one place where he either wrote or said he wants to devastate Medicare and Medicaid. Unbelievable. These guys ran it into the ground. They were all about to go bankrupt, including Social Security, right? And it's all Trump's fault. I suggest Rishi Sunak interviewing Elon the summer before the election. Yeah. Let me see. I'm feeling used positively. You guys are the best. Musk and Trump are busting a gut laugh. A lot of people think that, Bob. They think that they did this intentionally. Why, I don't know, but that would be another 4D chess thing if it is. I don't think it was intentional, but I've been wrong before. But I think Elon was just acting like a child because he didn't get some things that he wanted. That's what I think. And I know it was Elon because Trump was very nice about him. Trump did not trash him immediately anyway, but because he didn't. Because I think he genuinely likes Elon, and he was upset. Like, he was hurt. You could tell he was hurt. He's like, I don't know what's going on with him. Yeah. So, International Criminal Court judges. Here we go. ICC illegal. Nah, we're not going to do that one. Trying to find something. Oh, yeah. There we go. Another Trump effect. We got to love it. All this criminal crap, this communist crap is ending. Ready? Major bank announces end of debanking policies on guns and political affiliation. What he's talking about, if you don't know, a lot of banks, Bank of America being one of the top ones, but a lot of banks and then PayPal and Stripe, they started debanking conservative influencers. They wouldn't do banking with them, which is why Dan Bongino created a line pay. A line pay is the conservative PayPal, and it's got even better rates. because he wanted to do the parallel economy. In fact, he owns paralleleconomy.com. But he did that. He started a book publishing company, and he's published a lot of conservative books for people, for authors. He puts his money where his mouth is. But these guys have been debanking. I mean, what's your crime? Oh, because I'm a conservative. Oh, because I say that the jab was bad. That's what. Can you believe? And you know what? The banks are only supposed to have like a fiduciary relationship with you. They're not supposed to get into politics. It's not supposed to be their thing. Many on the right have accused banks of politically motivated targeting. Well, they have. After years of criticism from the right about unfair debanking practices, a major U.S. bank announced the end of the so they admitted it finally, as it relates to political affiliation and gun sales. Citigroup announced that they changed their firearms policies, which had been instituted after the heinous 2018 school shooting in Parkland, Florida. The American people are sick and tired of woke corporations discriminating against conservatives and gun owners. Quote, we appreciate the concerns that are being raised regarding fair access to banking services, and we are following regulatory developments. I would say that would be like going to these bank presidents and saying, well, now we're going to de-supermarket you, and you and your family members and people like you are not allowed to buy food anymore. I mean, that's as absurd as what they're doing, right? Recent executive orders and federal legislation that impact this area. The statement said Citigroup had updated its employee code of conduct to ensure that no one was discriminated against based on the basis of their political affiliation. So if they found out through looking at your social media or whatever, your registration card, right, that you were a conservative, even if you were a Republican but you were a rhino, you could be debanked. That's got to be criminal. That they could do something like that. It's all in the terms of service, just like the platforms that are out there. Among those who claimed they were targets of political debanking were First Lady Melania Trump and Eric Trump, who said the Trump organization had been negatively affected. In October, the First Lady recalled in an interview the shock she felt on finding out a bank had suddenly informed me they will not be able to do business with me anymore. She also said that a university returned her money when she tried to contribute to a philanthropic effort to fund scholarships for foster kids. Quote, they didn't want to do business with me because of political affiliation, my political beliefs. Now, that's because the Biden administration got away with, those MAGA extremists, they don't believe in the Constitution. They're evil. January 6th. Right. So all these corporations are like, all right, we're not going to do business with them. And you know what? A lot of them, like the Bud Light people, they found out, okay, well, guess what? We're going to make an example out of you. And they nearly went out of business. I mean, their numbers were going so low. They had to start talking to people about, look, what do we do? Do we cut back? Like, what do we do? But they came back. But I think that lesson should be remembered by all businesses. The president's son commented on debanking in March, quote, the decision by Capital One to debank our company after well over a decade was a clear attack on free speech and free enterprise that flies in the face of the bedrock principles and freedoms that define our country, Trump wrote. Moreover, the arbitrary closure of these accounts without justifiable cause reflects a broader effort to silence and undermine the success of the Trump organization and those who dare to express their political views. It's exactly right. So the commies are now realizing that, you know what? We now have a president that won't put up with this crap. And it could hurt you in the long run if you want to behave that way. What are we saying over here? Merry Christmas. Let's see. South Korea suspended for using term. Yeah, check this out. They're still nuts in the schools. So a teen was suspended for using the term illegal alien, just beat the system and cashed in. There he is. Good man. The left has weaponized language. We just talked about that. That's what political correctness really is. Control disguised as kindness. Calling someone an illegal alien isn't hateful or racist. It's legally accurate. The term alien, guys, is in the Constitution. It means a person that is supposed to be here, right? A citizen, if you will. And when they say illegal, they're an illegal person in this country. What else are they going to say, right? That's the correct term. But in today's twisted world of cultural Marxism, stating a fact can get you labeled a bigot, suspended from school, or worse. This is how they do it. They control the language, then the thoughts, then the ideas. That's not kindness, it's tyranny, and it's not freedom. Let's see what this is.
Let us begin with a very terse description. Cultural Marxism is a broad term which refers to the advocacy and application of critical theory, and more generally to the cultural, political, and academic influence of certain elements within the contemporary left. The roots of cultural Marxism are to be found in what is commonly known as the Frankfurt School.
Yeah, the Frankfurt School.
The term arose informally to describe the thinkers affiliated or merely associated with the Frankfurt Institute for Social Research at the Goethe University in Frankfurt, Germany during the interwar period. Critical of both capitalism and Soviet socialism, they sought to address the perceived shortcomings of classical Marxism in the pursuit of societal change. Their work came to be referred to as critical theory.
Yep.
Defining or categorizing critical theory is exceptionally difficult.
She wanted to go do critical thinking, so she abandoned her son.
For it pertains to a broad, almost disparate set of ideas, individuals, and approaches. The underlying and enduring aspect of critical theory, common to all its offshoots, nonetheless, is the creation of interdisciplinary theories that might serve as instruments of social transformation. During the 1960s, the Frankfurt School critical theory gained traction with some segments of the left-wing and leftist thought in both Europe and North America. Today, its influence is felt throughout Western academia, dominating the social sciences and humanities. Gender
Which is why I say don't send your kids to college unless it's a conservative college.
Studies and whiteness studies being two such examples. One of the most influential critical theorists and an original member of the Frankfurt School was Herbert Marcuse. A cursory glance at any paragraph written by Marcuse will set alarm bells ringing for anyone even remotely familiar with the current culture of intolerance on college and university campuses. Consider the following passage from his 1965 essay, Repressive Tolerance. The small and powerless minorities which struggle against the false consciousness and its beneficiaries must be helped. Their continued existence is more important than the preservation of abused rights and liberties, which grant constitutional powers to those who oppress these minorities. Social justice, feminism, neo-progressivism, and post-colonialism, to name but a few, are all movements inspired by or born out of critical theory, and thus all come under the umbrella of cultural Marxism. Be it gender, sexual orientation, family, race, culture, or religion, every aspect of a person's identity is to be questioned, every norm or standard in society challenged, and ideally altered in order to benefit supposedly oppressed groups. Classical Marxism saw class conflict as occurring between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, between the haves and the have-nots. Cultural Marxism views such a conflict as existing between the oppressed and the oppressors, between those with privilege and the...
That's the thing. With the cultural Marxists, they break everybody down into you're an oppressor or you're the oppressed. And it doesn't matter if you really are an oppressor or not. If you're the opposite of someone they consider oppressed, and the American cultural Marxists, the progressives, that's why they did identity politics, right? You could be Barack Obama elected president of the United States twice, and you're still being oppressed because you're black. There's no way you could win with these people, is what they're saying.
those without it. The working class has been replaced by minorities. Majority groups are typically defined as privileged and oppressive, with minority groups accordingly labelled underprivileged and oppressed. Heterosexuals are oppressive. Cisgender people are oppressive. Whites are oppressive, especially white men. Christians are oppressive. Those that do not fit into these groups are thus considered oppressed. It stands to reason, therefore, that if heterosexuals are oppressors, the solution is to encourage other forms of sexuality. If whites are oppressors, the solution is racial diversity. If cisgender people are oppressors, the solution is to encourage transgenderism.
There you go.
If Christians are oppressors, the solution is to propagate Islam.
Now you know.
Theodor Adorno, another original member of the Frankfurt School, wrote a book entitled The Authoritarian Personality, in which he defined parenthood, pride in one's family, Christianity, adherence to traditional gender roles and attitudes towards sex, and the love of one's own country as pathological phenomena. This tendency to pathologize opinions and life patterns, which are not in accordance with its own political ends, is characteristic of cultural Marxism. Differing views are thus described as irrational fears or phobias.
Or unacceptable
For example,
views.
a person who feels uncomfortable living as a minority in an area dominated by Muslim migrants may be decried as an Islamophobe, since wishing to live amongst those culturally
Maybe she's worried about being raped.
and ethnically similar to oneself is considered sick and phobic. When Pakistani Muslims living in Britain, by contrast, show in-group preference, converting entire sections of a town or city into a mini Pakistan, there is no sickness, no phobia, only multiculturalism.
Right.
20 years ago, there were no Pakis here, no one was doing nothing. But now, the Pakis are with a stamp, man, trust, you know what I mean? Now, think 20 years ahead, boy, fuck knows, man, this is going to be Pakistan. Or England, it's going to be Pakistan, man. They're all fucking shipping over.
A popular and propagandist manifestation of cultural Marxism is political correctness, in which media channels and social scientists make it a mandatory exercise to do the following. Question common language. Illegal immigrants, for example, are to be referred to as undocumented migrants, while ethnic discrimination is referred to as affirmative action.
Yep.
Their ambition to define and redefine words can be seen as a means of controlling the discourse and altering cultural norms. Racism and sexism have been redefined as a product of prejudice plus power, which leads to such ridiculous statements as, "There's no such thing as sexism against men," and
I, an ethnic minority woman, cannot be racist or sexist towards white men.
How ridiculous.
maintain an unwaveringly favourable view of groups which are marked as being oppressed. Islam is a religion of peace. Black Lives Matter.
Actually, it's not a religion of peace, but that's another story.
Is a peaceful, legitimate protest movement. Feminism is only about equality, and so forth.
Sure.
No deviation from the aforementioned narrative will be entertained, ever, nor will criticism. While communism, as Marx envisioned it, offered the resolution of class conflict in a utopian social system, all that cultural Marxism offers is a desolate form of eternal warfare between ever more narrowly defined groups of offended minorities.
And eventually,
eventually
they start to eat their own, because they went after so many people that they hate that there's none left.
Meaningful consequence that its wide application could possibly ever have is the marginalization of traditional European culture.
Unreal. Unbelievable. Let's see. I'll send you the link. It should be on. Hang on. What was the thing I just went into? I can't. Hold on. It was Marxism. Yeah, I'll find the link later. I'll put it in the description. Let's see. Hold on. History. Okay. Here we go. Hang on. So what are we going to do now? Which are we going to do? Let me see. There you go. South Korea, we did that. Patel warns China may be targeting. Yeah, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but let's go over this again. Kash Patel is warning about China, what they're going to do. This is serious stuff. Patel warns China may be targeting U.S. food supply after major arrests. This is about the fungus that they brought in that would have destroyed our crops. 2 Chinese nationals are facing multiple federal charges after allegedly smuggling a dangerous crop destroying fungus into the United States, prompting serious national security. I just want to hear what we already talked about this. I just want to get down to what court documents revealed that one of the men had hidden samples of the fungus in his backpack while entering the U.S., a move federal authorities say could have had severe consequences for American agriculture. The alleged actions of these Chinese nationals, including a loyal member of the party, are the gravest national security concerns. But let's see, 2 aliens, charged with smuggling a fungus that has been described as potential. Yeah, we already read that. All right, here we go. FBI Director Kash Patel suggested the incident may signal a broader effort by the Chinese Communist Party to target the U.S. food supply. I confirmed that the FBI arrested a Chinese national within the United States who allegedly smuggled a dangerous biological pathogen into the country. The fungus can cause a disease called head blight, a disease of wheat, barley, maize, and rice. Maize, which we call corn, and rice, causing significant health issues in both humans and livestock. It is responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year. And here we have Chinese nationals that are sneaking it into the U.S. But they claimed, oh, we're just going to look at it at the University of Michigan. Yeah, and you're going to do what? Some gain of function research on it? I mean, think about it. It's unreal. I'll tell you what, if China does that again, they unleashed, the COVID, but if they do that, that's war. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm surprised that no one tried to hold them legally responsible in the first place, but I mean, that's war. You can't throw a fungus at us, right? Well, how do you know they were with the government? Because everybody there is with the government. You have to be if you want to survive. You should check China by threatening to send peanut brittle. Peanut brittle. There's a fungus among us. Exactly right. Not the barley. Yeah. You guys are funny. Let's see what's next. What's that say? That's not worth reading. Explaining the fate of Trump's bill as an unelected Senate official. Yeah, here we go. This is how our system works, right? Ready? It's crazy because of China. The National Pulse. It says the fate of Trump's big, beautiful bill now rests with this unelected Senate official. It's the parliamentarian. Now, the parliamentarian, especially this one, Elizabeth McDonough, she's actually been very good at the job so far that she's been there. She's not biased in either way. She calls it because there are rules of the Senate, and you can't. I'm sure a progressive can. Well, it says it right there. No, it doesn't. Shut up, bigot. But she literally says, well, look, this is what the rule says. This is what the rule says. I don't have to interpret it. It's written right there. She's pretty good from what I remember. So Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough is set to evaluate the House-passed One Big Beautiful Bill Act for compliance with Senate rules under the Byrd rule. Byrd being the KKK guy that that Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton said mentored him in the Senate, right? And that Joe Biden used to hang out with. Well, but Trump's the racist, right? Who's involved? President Trump, the parliamentarian, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune. So U.S. Senate 2025, be June. Key provisions of Trump's bill, including those limiting federal court powers and restricting Medicaid funds for abortion clinics, could be struck down, potentially weakening the legislation. I'm not going to read the thing in full, but look at this, Harry Reid. Senate parliamentarians are almost always selected from the office of the parliamentarian to ensure continuity. The office itself was only created in 1935. The current Senator Elizabeth McDonough has served since 2012, when she was elevated to the role by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, which is another reason why I'm flabbergasted that she's like a serious person, because Harry Reid was not a serious guy. Despite being appointed by Harry Reid, McDonough has been critical of the late Nevada Democrats' 2013 decision to use a procedural maneuver to alter Senate rules to use the so-called nuclear option to abolish the filibuster for lower federal court nominations. How about that? Yeah, so basically she's going to go over the rules of the Senate and see if they can handle what the House just handed them. Isn't that lovely? So in other words, we're going to take up more time, which we don't really have at this point. But let's go up. Former CIA, John Lindsey Graham, Tucker Carlson, $7 billion from the feds. Yeah, this one here. California. No offense, Bob. California's got nearly $7 billion from feds for high-speed rail, but never laid any track, bombshell report shows. Yeah, no, say it ain't so. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy threatened Wednesday to pull federal grants for California's high-speed rail authority. What is it with this high-speed rail crap with the libnuts? In like almost every city, we need a high-speed rail, and nobody rides it when they finally get it. After it spent nearly $7 billion in taxpayer funds over a decade and a half without laying a single foot of track. Well, we have to get it right. In the 310-page report, Duffy detailed the missed deadlines and stretched budget for the long-running project and gave the Golden State's high-speed rail office until July 11 to respond or get around $4 billion in additional grants cut off. Quote, this report exposes a cold, hard truth. CHSRA has no viable path to complete this project on time or on budget. Fly, California. Originally passed as a ballot initiative in 2008, the 800-mile rail line was supposed to be completed in 2 phases on a $33 billion budget by 2020. And by 5 years ago, it was supposed to be done, and they haven't laid a single piece of track. Unreal. With a main line connecting San Francisco with Los Angeles and branches stretching north to Sacramento and south to San Diego. Yeah, okay. We don't need to read anymore. Democrats used taxpayer money as a grift. We're all used to that by now, right? It's about spending as much money as possible and laying it to wait. Exactly. See that? You could be an American. You get it. Doge Quixote. I love that. Let's see. Watchdog finds no evidence behind it. Yeah, we did that. Scott Jennings. What else? Winning. Deficit now. Exploits rise. JD Vance. The fate. Yeah. Okay. Wow. I have to go. Let's see. Samaritan 66 tackles carjacker. Oh, this is great. This is great. I'd love to see him do it. Gavin Newsom threatens to block California tax payments to federal government. California Governor Gavin Newsom threatened Friday that his state would stop tax payments to the federal government after news reports suggested President Donald Trump was thinking of cutting funds to the state. Then they should cut all the funds. If he says, we're not going to send the tax. Now, you know what? Technically, it's his right to do that. But the feds could still go after people. Like, in other words, he could stop. He could write an order to stop the federal tax being taken out of people's paychecks. And I don't know how that would be handled by the feds. Because technically you can do that. Because if you think about it, guys, in a way, he's right. We take money from our paycheck and they send it to D.C. And D.C.'s like, it's this big. And it gets whittled every day because you got bureaucrats that are being paid. And nothing gets done. And then they send the money back to us. And they act like we're supposed to be grateful when it was our money in the first place. Because the federal government, they make no money of their own. They don't make a product or service that people go, oh, damn, I got to have some more Washington, D.C. service. It just doesn't happen. So they don't have any money of their own. They forcefully confiscate it from workers, right? Which Trump wants to end for many of us because of the tariffs. But I think a state should be able to say, because you know what, the feds, think about this. The feds, and Trump has done it too, because it's effective, but the feds say, okay, you send your money from the states into us, and we'll give it back to you in the form of grants with what we think you should get. And then they say, well, look, if you don't do this, we're taking away your highway funds. You're like, wait a minute, what does that have to do with highway funds? Doesn't matter. We can take them away. You won't get highway funds. What? So why not just stop sending them? I remember a guy in Pennsylvania, like in the 80s, said, hey, let's just stop sending money. He worked with, was it Corbett? I forget who it was, the governor. But he said, let's just stop sending money to D.C. You know, it was the 90s because it was Clinton. They said, let's just stop sending money to D.C. That way we keep the money ourselves. We would do better with it here than sending it to D.C. and they send it back. So I don't really know how to feel about this, but it's Gavin Newsom. So Californians pay the bills for the federal government. We pay over $80 billion more in taxes than we get back. Yeah, but I'm willing to bet you get a lot more in services, grants, and whatnot than $80 billion. Let's see. Trump preparing large-scale cancellation of federal funding for California. Well, you know what? If they did investigations and found out that there's $80 billion that's fraud, like this rail line we just talked about, you know, all that money they put out and they didn't lay a single piece of track. Come on. As Breitbart News noted earlier in the day, reports emerged suggesting that the Trump White House was considering cutting federal funding to California due to its challenges to and defiance of federal policy. Trump reported is considering ways to pull more federal funding from the state of California as Gavin Newsom continues to defy White House policies despite needing money. I think what he's talking about is DEI. He's not shutting down DEI, and there's several other things that, like, the trans situation with sports and schools. I think California gave the big double barrel to Trump when he put that executive order out. California is suffering a large budget deficit for the second year in a row, with the state's Medicaid program borrowing money to stay afloat. So why did they need to borrow money to keep their Medicaid program open? Trump didn't cut Medicaid. Newsom has also asked for the federal government for $40 billion in fire relief. So now, after everything burned, now they want fire relief money, right? But Newsom is also enthusiastically suing the Trump administration. He's an enthusiast over many of its policies, often seeking the kinds of nationwide injunctions that would stop those policies everywhere, not just in California. Trump had already threatened California's federal sports funding after state defied a federal transgender policy that bars biological males from competing in girls' sports. That's one of the reasons why he pulled money. And you know what's funny? He tells you, look, this is now federal. It's the executive order is now in place. You have to abide by it or you don't get money. So they have a choice. They abide by it or they don't get money. So they didn't abide by it, but they want the money. Now, ain't that a joke? I mean, you had a choice. You made your choice, but now You want something that wasn't in the choice. It's not clear what constitutional authority Newsom has to withhold federal taxes on behalf of individuals, businesses, and other entities within the state. So that's the thing. For the feds, if the federal government, I wonder what's in the 16th Amendment when it talks about the income tax. I wonder what's in there, because that's the only thing that really matters. All the USC stuff, I don't know if that matters, but the states should be able to say, we're not going to send you money to DC. They should be able to say that. We'll tell our employers not to do it, but then the feds could go after the employers. It's a mess, but leave it to Newsom to do that. A tax revolt by California would recall the nullification doctrine popular in some southern states before the Civil War. It could also trigger a tax revolt by Californians against their own state taxes, which are very high. Yeah, they wanted the salt tax reinstated so that their rich people could be subsidized by all of us. That's what that was all about. Yeah, Medicaid for illegals. That's another one. Yeah, we got to have our money to be able to pay off illegals. Let's see. Here we go. This is a good one. Let's see. George Clooney. Ready? So George Clooney worries that he's going to be targeted by Trump. There you go. Come on, play it.
Has to do it. Do you worry about, personally,
listen to this,
being targeted by the administration?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Everybody worries about it, but if you spend your life worrying about things, then you won't do things. We like everybody have a family, we have a life, and we have and we try to live and do the things as the best example for our kids. And I want to be able to look at my kids in the eye and say where we stood and what we did at certain times in history. And I have no problem with that. And my wife certainly doesn't. My wife's the bravest person you've ever met. And my wife spent 2 years in a bunker in Beirut, trying Hezbollah for killing Hariri. She's the only person to put ISIS on trial. She's the bravest person I've ever met in my life. And so, we have other issues besides just worried about an American administration that might want to be unkind and say bad things about us.
On George Clooney's story,
I think he, along with Richard Maddow, they both think that they're much more important than they really are. You think about it, like Trump's going to come after me. What? Why? Bollocks. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know what you were referring to. Clooney is worried about the remote possibility of his Epstein tape going public. I'll bet. I will bet. Condone being George Clooney. Here we go. Here's some good news. Let's see. The U.S. economy added 139,000 jobs in May, even as the government employment shrank. So what does that mean? More people in the private sector. Nice. Employers in the United States added 139,000 workers to their payrolls in May, the Department of Labor said Friday, and the unemployment rate was unchanged at 4.2%. Economists had been expecting 125,000, so they're ahead, and an unemployment rate unchanged at 4.2%. President Trump, his program of shrinking the federal government is showing signs of progress. Of course it is. Employment in the federal government fell by 22,000 in May and is down 59,000 since January. Thank you, Doge. The private sector added 140,000 jobs, more than 120,000 forecast. The services sector expanded by 145,000, while the good producing side of the economy contracted by 5,000. Manufacturing employment contracted by 8,000 jobs, but the prior month's figure was revised up from the loss of 1,000 to a gain of 5,000. So, in other words, Trump economy is working already, and the things are not fully in place yet for us to explode. I think next year we're going to explode our economy. My shit don't stink. Okay. What else is there? Here it is. U.S. sanctions, restrictions, United States. Now we're not going to do that. That would be boring at this late juncture. Let's see. Scraps Biden guidance attempted. Wow. All right. What else is here? Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, we got to go to the bottom one. Here we go. I mentioned this earlier and I never read it. I can't believe it. Here we go. Supreme Court, this is one of the wins. Supreme Court rules in favor of straight woman in discrimination suit. Again, YouTube overlords. I'm not the one that called her a straight woman. I'm just reading from the news. And the reason why is because a lot of people on the left don't like the term straight because it indicates that if you're gay, you're somehow crooked. But that's not what anybody except they think. So, all right. So here's the story. The Supreme Court unanimously ruled Thursday. You can't get those 9 people to agree what's for lunch, and yet they unanimously ruled on Thursday in favor of a straight woman who sued her employer for discrimination when she was denied promotion and demoted because of her sexual orientation. There's a great video out there. I'm going to play it. The decision will make it easier for members of majority groups to sue for discrimination in parts of the country and comes amid President Donald Trump's crackdown on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, DEI. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote the opinion for the court. Can you imagine? For a 9-0. Quote, by establishing the same protections for every individual without regard to that individual's membership in a minority or majority group, Congress left no room for courts to impose special requirements on majority group plaintiffs alone. She's actually right. The petitioner, Marlene Ames, started working for the Ohio Department of Youth Services in 2004. After being interviewed for a management position in 2017, her boss selected a lesbian woman to fill the role instead. The agency later demoted Ames from her role as program administrator and hired a gay man in her place. Go! Ames filed a lawsuit against the agency under Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits employment discrimination on the basis of sex, saying she was denied the employment opportunities because she is straight. We all just knew, we just want to get married. We all just knew that when all this happened, they would be doing this same stuff that they claim was always done to them, right? Both the district court and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit held Ames failed to meet a heightened evidentiary standard necessary to claim discrimination. Yeah, well, she just won in the Supremes. Because she is part of the majority group, both courts held Ames would have to provide evidence of background circumstances showing her employer had exhibited a pattern of discrimination against members of majority groups. Well, they demoted her to put a gay guy in, right? A minority group plaintiff would not have to face the same hurdle. That's the problem. The court held the background circumstances rule applied in the Sixth Circuit and 4 other appeals courts across the country does not align with the federal anti-discrimination law or Supreme Court precedent. Quote, the Sixth Circuit had implemented a rule that requires certain Title VII plaintiffs, those who are members of majority groups, to satisfy a heightened evidentiary standard in order to carry their burden under the first step of the McDonnell-Douglas framework, Jackson wrote. We conclude that Title VII does not impose such a heightened standard on majority group plaintiffs. The unanimous decision comes as the Trump administration seeks to dismantle DEI efforts in both the government and the private sector, and 2 years after the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in college admissions. I call it a win. What say you? Let's see, Jim's doing. Shatterhand of the Naked Truth. Never heard of you. Sorry. Welcome if you're not Nelson. Let's see what else is left. We did 2 Trump effects tonight. Yeah, here's evil Schumer. Let's see. So Chuck Schumer. Oh, let me do this. Hang on. Yeah, I wanted to play this first. Hold on. Let's do this. History in the making. Hold on. There it is. This is great. Ready? So this is called if Pride Month was about straight people. Let me stop this one. I'll put this one up. This is good. Okay, ready?
I'm hetero. As a heterosexual, this is the month that everyone should recognize and celebrate my sexuality, which has always been a fantasy of mine. It's kind of hot. What do I take the most pride in? My values, my accomplishments, my morals, how I treat people. No, I take the most pride in where I stick my penis. Women. I think vaginas are terrific. Yes, I think corporations should do special hetero logos for this month. I mean, it's their job to make me feel sexually validated. And if they don't, I'll take my business elsewhere. Okay? As great as this month is, some people don't like to celebrate. They're like, oh, sexuality is something that should be expressed privately. Well, public displays of sexuality are a real turn on for me, and I need to use other people for that, with or without their consent, because it honors my bravery as a person. Yeah, I just live a few houses down. I have a penis between my legs. This is locked. Sexuality is the last thing that should be private. It's not that hard to celebrate Hetero Pride Month. All you have to do is ask yourself, how can I sexualize everything I do? It's appropriate.
Guys, we think it's like really ridiculous, but when they do exactly what he's just demonstrating absurdity by being absurd. Okay, so I hope I don't get dinged for this because it literally is a YouTube video, but he's demonstrated absurdity by being absurd, and it's exactly what they do, but the opposite, which is why I just love it.
This is the month to be loud and proud. Last night I told this lady, I'm hetero, like, aggressively. Vaginas are just where it's at for me. And she was like, I'm just trying to sell you Girl Scout cookies. And I was like, how can you when you don't know this about me? So she started crying, and I was proud. So empowering.
Hey, how's it going, neighbor?
I'm aroused by women. I honestly don't understand why some people have to be so heterophobic and not be interested in my sexuality this month. It's like when a guy goes to a park and exposes his private parts to a stranger. What's wrong with that?
It makes the stranger feel violated.
Violated? Why can't they be interested? Show some solidarity with me, bigot. Wonder why they call them private parts. Doesn't make sense. You'd think they'd be called public parts. I think they should do a remake of Brokeback Mountain for my community. Little hetero representation would be nice. It's one thing if you make everything about you, that kind of makes you a narcissist. But if you make everything about your sexuality, what's that?
Perverted.
Brave. Hey, do you want to know where I like to stick my penis?
No, not at all.
Well, I want you to know.
Get away from me, creep.
In women.
I'm calling the cops.
I'm being brave. That's discrimination right there. Because I'm hetero. Well, not watching the NBA anymore. Their logo's not catering to my sex drive. Yes, sexuality is a basic physiological function that all animals in nature have. But I take pride in my other physiological functions as well. Like bowel movements. Like a month for that too. My penis is attracted to vaginas. This is what I base my identity.
I just know I'm going to get dinged for this.
On, because I want to get the most out of life. And hopefully this month can inspire many others to do the same.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's a funny guy, but that was pretty good. Bloke back mountain. That's good. Freedom bill. Let's see what else do we have. Decision. Trump effect. Here, I got one over here. Let's see. What the hell? Off her right now. It's funny. Let's see what we have in. Where is it? Where is it? Liberty Daily. There we go. Oh, here we go. Okay. Let's go back here. A lot of you guys are going to like this one. Fauci devices seized. Breakthrough or theater. FBI Director Kash Patel claims COVID-era evidence uncovered. In a move that could be deemed to blur the lines between investigative breakthrough and political spectacle, FBI Director Kash Patel announced during a high-profile appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience that the Bureau has recovered a cell phone and multiple hard drives allegedly belonging to Dr. Anthony Fauci. The devices, Patel claims, were used during Fauci's tenure as chief medical advisor during the COVID-19 pandemic and may hold key evidence in ongoing investigations into the virus's origins and the federal response. On his exit, ex-President Joe Biden pardoned Fauci in anticipation of any efforts to pursue the former nation's top biomedical scientist. Patel's announcement, made over cigars and wide-ranging conversation with Rogan, has electrified a faction of the American public still demanding accountability for COVID-19 era decisions. Yet it was also raised serious questions. Are their devices truly a missing puzzle piece, or is this a choreographed distraction from growing dysfunction in the second Trump administration facing economic turmoil, legal chaos, and internal rifts? Except for Elon, I don't see any of the other things. Oh, well. And then there is, of course, the complete cluster that is the Musk-Trump very public breakup. Patel offered few concrete details. He did not clarify, because he can't right now. He did not clarify when the seized phone was in use, how the FBI verified it belonged to Fauci, whether a warranty was issued, or what contents have been reviewed so far. We found it, Patel said, and now we're going to go and exploit those hard drives. Yeah, well, the left's going to call it a vendetta, and the right's going to say, I really wish something will happen, but we know it won't. You know, that's what's going to happen. Let's see. A.J. Bonnie, Maryland, the only man arrives in the U.S. to face alien smuggling. So he's back. Here we go. Abrego Garcia. So the AG Maryland man, Kilmar Garcia, arrives in U.S. to face alien smuggling and conspiracy charges. This is the guy that the Democrats traveled down to El Salvador to try to say, we got to get him back to the United. Yeah, we want someone like that back in the U.S. Okay.
Linda has fought 6,000 battles.
All right.
Here are the top 3 dirty self-defense moves. Number 1, throwing dirt in your opponent's eyes. Throwing an object at your opponent's eyes is...
Continuing.
These were recently found facts, right?
Yes, okay. Recently found facts.
To that point, can you just explain when this investigation was opened? The investigation in Tennessee, can you say when that investigation was opened?
Well, the grand jury indicted on May 21st. This investigation has been ongoing.
This case has been hotly debated here in Washington. In your mind, does this resolve that issue in terms of his deportation? And should this be seen in any way as complying with the judge's order to return him to the U.S. and the Supreme Court ruling that the U.S. government should facilitate?
I would like to complain that reporter's typing is way too loud for this video.
Well, there's a big difference between what the state of play was before the indictment and after the indictment. And so the reason why he is back and was returned was because there's an arrest warrant, which was presented to the government in El Salvador. So there's a big difference there. As far as whether it makes the ongoing litigation in Maryland moot, I would think so, but we don't know that. He just landed today. Jake, CBS.
I just want to confirm what you said earlier, that you're intending to prosecute him and keep him in an American prison if he's found guilty, and then would remove him after his sentence is over.
Correct. Yes, he will be prosecuted in our country, sentenced in our country if convicted, and then returned after completion of his sentence.
Last one, Sadie, Wall Street Journal.
Okay. I have two. One's on topic, one's off topic. Maybe I misunderstood you, but you were mentioning, that he had some involvement in a murder, or was connected to groups that had, involved with this other smuggling ring. But to be clear, the only charges he's facing right now are the, human smuggling charges. Just that's the one offense. But the other things that you have talked about are not actually in the indictment?
No, co-conspirators allege that, and we were clear to say that. He is charged with, it's not only very serious charges of alien smuggling. And again, there were children involved in that. Human trafficking, not only in our country, but in our world, is very, very real. It's very dangerous. And as you saw recently in Virginia, the arrest we made of the MS-13 member, unrelated to this, we learned at that press conference, that's where they bring young children into our country and they start grooming them at middle school age to become MS-13 full-fledged members, commit violent crimes throughout our country. It is highly organized. It is very dangerous, and they are living throughout our country, but no more, because they are being arrested, they are being prosecuted, and being convicted and deported when appropriate.
Yeah. And you will have the Democratic Party out there defending them. UK, inhumane, yeah. Here we go. This is something I knew was going to happen right away. So everybody's on the high saying, yeah, Ukraine, what they did with those. Yeah, here we go. Russia launches one of the largest air attacks on Ukraine since the start of the war. We knew it. Russia unleashed one of the largest air attacks of the ongoing war, targeting multiple regions across Ukraine with a barrage of over 400 drones and 40 missiles, including ballistic missiles, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This devastating assault, which killed at least 6 people and injured dozens, came just days after Ukraine executed a bold drone strike dubbed Operation Spiderweb, targeting Russia's strategic bomber fleet. The Russian attack struck 9 regions from Lviv, is that how you pronounce it, in the west to Sumy in the northeast, leaving a trail of destruction, including damaged apartment buildings and loss of life in Kyiv, Lutsk, and Chernihiv, whatever. The Russian assault began early Friday with Kiev residents enduring a familiar yet terrifying night of air raid, sirens, drone wars. So in other words, you guys had your little party, you danced a little bit, and now you're catching, you're sowing, or you're reaping what you sowed with that, because Russia could kick your rear end at any time during this whole thing. And Trump wanted it ended, and then you had Zelensky come over here, his pathetic performance in the Oval Office, but the media still hasn't announced or made a thing that he met with Democrats an hour before that White House meeting. And they told him, oh, keep fighting for more money. We can't end this war. The people there are just going to die. It's terrible what these lefties are doing. And now Putin's like, well, you know what? You want to do that and take out like a significant chunk of our nuclear bombers? Okay, well, then we're going to take out your cities. A whole lot of whoop at. Yeah, it is. It really is. It is awful. Just unbelievable. So let's see. What else do we have? Yeah. Chuck Schumer. Chuck you, Schumer. This is just... So Chuck Schumer says, if the big, beautiful bill passes, we're all going to die. We're going to die. Here we go. You got to love it, man.
Donald Trump is just lying about the bill.
No, he's not.
Lying about the bill.
Being very open.
Well,
Look at this.
here's the "We Are All Going to Die" act. And we all know one thing. Donald Trump is just lying about the bill.
I'll play it again because it was so quick.
Lying about the bill.
Look at this.
Well, here's the "We Are All Going to Die" act.
You know, Schumer is so old now, he doesn't have any pizzazz anymore. He's, here it is right here. Schumer's just, oh my God, what a loser. So unhinged. Let me see. Totally unhinged. We're all going to die if we pass the largest tax cut in history, block illegals from taxpayer-funded health care, and cut the deficit. I mean, they're not serious. That's the problem. Shucky Schmucky Schumer, yeah. Communism is not dead. I'm still here. Now, let's see what else is there. Uncanceled news. Let's see. Ground news. Not to be. Let's go back in here. Supreme Court hands a pair of wins for Doge. Chokes China's access to nuclear energy equipment. She is the least interesting one. Here we go. Who are they talking about? The least interesting woman in the world. Let's see who. Feminism for the past 5 years. Oh, this is going to be great. It's so good it had to be on Rumble. So there we go. Probably going to have. Yeah, we have commercials. Look at this. Trump on the bill. That's great.
Reliable energy means a more secure future. Last year, Chevron increased U.S. production nearly 20%, powering...
She calls America evil. From her iPhone while sipping Starbucks, on an airplane, with Wi-Fi, while watching TV. She drinks oat milk because regular milk makes her feel colonial. She got 8 COVID shots, still caught it, and blamed the unvaccinated waiter. She has a Ukraine flag in her bio. She thinks Ukraine is a clothing brand. She says Black Lives Matter, but still clutches her bag in certain neighborhoods. She used to be vegan, now she's carnivore. Depends on who she's dating.
Oh.
She thinks all cops are bad, then called the cops because someone wasn't wearing a mask. She says she's a feminist until she needs a jar opened. She says, trust the science, but thinks there's more than 2 genders. She got the booster, then posted a selfie with doing my part while spreading COVID in Tulum. She drinks ayahuasca for trauma she invented last year. She says she hates capitalism, but charges $499 for Zoom breathwork. She posts about toxic masculinity from her ex's apartment.
That's awesome. We're seeing more and more of that. It's another part of the Trump effect. Truth. Yeah, exactly. Bracing myself for my anger. Let's see. Here's Bernie Sanders impersonation is one. Yeah. Let's see. 20 studies. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to read it, but it's 20 studies show the cancer-fighting potential of this low-cost drug. It's ivermectin. You know, the drug that the lib nuts didn't want you to take. Proud Boys suit. Oh, here we go. Oh, I wanted to see this. This is new. It wasn't on there earlier today. Here you go. The Proud Boys. So the Proud Boys sue the DOJ for $100 million over the J6 prosecutions. Guys, if this is allowed to go through, there's going to be a heck of a lot of more lawsuits like this because, guys, what they and they're still bragging about Jay. Say you heard tonight that woman when she was talking, saying to Scott Jennings of CNN, saying, "Oh, they were January 6 people. They were vicious. They were violent." Yeah, okay. 5 leaders of the Proud Boys are suing the Department of Justice after the Biden administration found them guilty of engaging in a seditious conspiracy related to the January 6th riot at the Capitol. They did no such. They weren't even the guy Henry Tarrio. He wasn't even there. The lawsuit filed by Henry Enrique Tarrio. He was the leader. Ethan Nordine, Joseph Biggs, Zachary Rail, and Dominic Pizzola seeks $100 million and claims that federal authorities violated the Constitution in an effort to punish and oppress political allies of President Donald Trump by any and all means less necessary, legal or illegal, the WAPO reported. It comes on the heels of Trump's January pardon of virtually all January 6 defendants, which could saddle the Trump administration with the ironic task of defending the prosecutions, which many on the right view as political weaponization of government. Leftist academics, at least one, are freaking out over this suit, suggesting that it would vindicate January 6 rioters in the court of public opinion. A settlement would suggest that the violence of January 6 was entirely justified. Not entirely, right? Matthew Dallek, a George Washington University political historian, told WAPO. It would say to the country that these Proud Boys who were convicted in a court of law in a fair trial were wrongfully prosecuted and victims. It just turns the entire day on its head. Look, I happen to know that there was an informant embedded in with the Proud Boys, an FBI informant. And when he went, I said this multiple times here, when he was being debriefed by the FBI, they kept trying to get him to lie because he said, look, not only were the Proud Boys not involved in anything that had to do with a conspiracy to take over the government, but they were getting thumbs up from the Capitol Police because they were yanking people out of the building saying, you can't do that. It's illegal. Get out of there. Go home. Like that. And they were like, yeah, thanks, guys. But here they went after him anyway because they finagled the 302 document to make it look like that the guy that was the informant said that, yeah, they were involved in a plot, but he wouldn't change it. Can't say that word out loud. Tarrio, who wasn't even at the Capitol, yeah, I think he was in Maryland at the time, on January 6th, was sentenced to 22 years for plotting to attack, while Nordine, Biggs, and Real allegedly stepped into their leadership roles and led what prosecutors claim was the first breach of the Capitol's west entrance. They did no such thing. Nordine, Biggs, and Real received sentences 18, 17, and 15 years, respectively, for seditious conspiracy, while Pizzola was sentenced to 10 years for conspiracy to obstruct Congress. The lawsuit comes on the heels of a May agreement to settle the wrongful death case brought by the family of Ashley Babbitt, who was fatally shot by the incompetent Capitol policeman who got off scot-free while she was involved in the demonstration. So, yeah, that's going to be tough. Trump's going to have to defend the government. Pam Bondi's going to have to defend the government's actions, which I think it would be better if they just said, look, let's just pay them because we know they were wrong. It was the communists, the Biden administration. Are still calling it an insurrection. I know. They wonder why they lost. I know. It wasn't an insurrection, especially when the police opened the door and say, come on in. You know, come on. Plus, nobody was there to overtake the government. Do you know that they went into Nancy Pelosi's office and they were going to take over the government that way? That's what an insurrection is. Jackasses, total jackasses. Let's see. What else do we have? I know it's after 9. But I'm going to, if you guys don't mind, I'll stick around for a little bit longer. I'll suggest creating, withdraws, decommission, Dragon spacecraft, Steve. Nah. CNN suggests Trump might have Musk. Oh, jeez. Can you believe this shit? These people on the left, they're just out of their minds. Listen to this. CNN is having a normal one. Panelists suggest Trump might have Musk killed or imprisoned after the spat. Now, can you believe these idiots? CNN isn't exactly a bastion of measured tones and intelligent political analysis, but you'd expect them to at least be a notch above what one of their panelists offered this morning, or maybe not. Contributor Lulu Garcia Navarro, whatever, a reporter for the New York Times, really kicked up the stupid to 11 when she offered her to take on yesterday's very public spat between President Donald Trump and Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Many saw the argument for what it was, a disagreement between two strong-willed individuals that simply spiraled out of control and should have been handled behind closed doors. Garcia Navarro, though, believes there is so much more, and Musk is going to be the one who pays the price. Oh, we gotta watch.
Lulu, your reaction? I have so many thoughts about this.
No, you don't. You have stupid thoughts about this.
I think this is bad for Musk. If you look at the history around the world of authoritarians breaking up with their oligarch buddies, those oligarch buddies don't end up in a good place. They either end up impoverished, imprisoned, or dead.
So, in other words, she's saying that we don't live in the United States of America. We live in some third world country that would do, or some communist nightmare that would do this.
I'm not saying that that's going to happen to Elon Musk here, but the power is with the government. You saw Donald Trump immediately say, all right, we're going to take away your, contracts. We're going to, punish you and retaliate. And he has the power to do that. We've seen Donald Trump exercise that power. So
absolutely nothing compared to what the Biden administration did to people.
I actually think this is a losing battle for Elon Musk. And the other thing I would say is that I think Elon Musk has realized that when he was given the golden key, it was like being given one of those bad watches when you retire early, when they want you out the door. Basically, he was taken advantage of.
This woman is a complete dunderhead.
They wanted his money, they wanted his power, and now they're like, you know what, my friend, you've caused a lot of problems. Here's the exit. And his response is, show me gratitude.
What problems did Elon cause when he was running Doge? He didn't cause any problems. He caused problems for them, for the grifters, for the people that stole our money in the NGOs.
Well, money only buys you so much. Okay, Isaac?
Unbelievable. So she thinks we live in a third world country where Trump's going to have him killed. Ha! Morons. All of them. They're a bunch of morons. They can't help themselves. Let's see what else is there. Let's see what Bongino has going on. Let's see, Bongino report. I wonder if they changed their... Come on, open up. Oh, I hate that. Trump says he won't be speaking with Musk for a while. Wow. Trump admin asks SCOTUS to lift the ban on the Department of Education. Trump flips Biden era trend. All new job growth is now going native-born Americans. Nice. Yeah, you remember? Let's do that one because it's important. Under the Biden nuts, it was like, remember they lied about the numbers, they inflated the numbers, they lied about it. But even the inflated numbers, well, all the numbers really, they went to foreign-born people overwhelmingly, including illegals. So Trump flips Biden-era trend of most job growth going to non-citizens. So it has here, for hire, yeah. Joe Biden loved to tout the jobs growth under his presidency without mentioning that all the net job growth on his watch went to non-citizens. Under Donald Trump, the growth is now actually going to U.S. citizens, where it belongs. For goodness sake, what other country does that? The jobs report came out earlier today, and the economy added 139,000 above estimates of 125,000. This also came as the federal government shed 22,000 jobs. We read that earlier, but according to White House Director of Policy Communications, Jackie Klitzlitz, based on data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, since Trump has taken office, the trend has reversed, with U.S. citizens adding 1.25 million jobs and the foreign-born losing nearly 200,000. The non-citizen losses do not include illegal aliens working under the table who have been deported. Exactly. Now, how about that? Already, we're seeing a turnaround. This is why we voted for Trump. Let's see what the next one is. D-Day veterans return to Normandy. Nah, don't want to read that. Former climate activist, hottest new voice and conservative. No, I don't think so. Beautiful breakup. Nah. Let's go here. What else is there? Kaiser family. Oh, Kurt Schlichter. Here we go. I like to read better. We are in a political game. Let's see. The courts are courting disaster. Here it is. American politics at its best. Kurt Schlichter. We are in a political game. Where is it? Where's the? Are you kidding me? Oh, they made it pay. Oh no. Yeah, well, I'm not gonna pay for it just for today. No. Let me see what else. I'll do one more. Let's go to the Populist Times. Subpoena issued. House Oversight Committee makes bold step toward exposing Biden's decline. Yeah. One Biden hand-signed pardon draws attention. Yeah. Yeah, they found sensitive documents tied to Comey. Let's see what else is there. Liberal witness and Trump accuser of racism refuses to say they're not a covert white supremacist. Ah! Wow. What else is there? Ron DeSantis survives a major DEI embarrassment. Okay. That's crazy. Bias says Booker repeats Musk's Nazi salute allegation. Oh, good Lord. What do we got going on? I just embiggeted myself. What happened? Let me see. They hated the guy a week ago, burned his cars, etc. Now he's the victim. Exactly correct. He thinks either a moron or he's getting, yeah, exactly. I want my key back, Elon. That's funny. No more sleepovers. They lied. Oh my God. How could that be? Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. One more stupid video. Sure. We're full of stupid videos. Let's see. I will go to, there's one thing here. It's, what's it called? Where is it? Able Company? No. What Finger? That's what it's called. What Finger? Let's see. Russell Brand. The truth has finally come out. Holy schlicht, folks. That's funny. Russell Brand. Here we go. Hold on. Oh yeah, we can't play this. Sorry. Yeah, it's Dr. Peter McCullough who's talking about the mRNA, and it's really bad news. We're not allowed to play it here, so I won't. Sorry. Let's see. DOJ and Holland distances himself from Abrego Garcia after charges. Yeah. The guy that went there. President Trump responds to return alleged gang member. All right, let's get a stupid video. Holy cow, I think I'll never chew gum again. All right. Sugar in just one can of soda will shock you beyond the Trump-Musk fallout. Victor David Hansen article below the clip. Let's see. Let's see what this is. Here we go. Let's pull this in. Where is it? Pull it up. Beyond the Trump fallout. Here we go.
It is, but they do need to dial it down from DEFCON 1 down to 5 because actually they had a workable relationship. And Elon Musk is not going to join the Democratic Party. He was objecting to too much spending. He'll get a lot more if he were to go in that direction. They both helped each other out. I mean, his companies, X, the Space Pro, all of that was in Donald Trump's advantage, and the same was true of Trump, what he did to Musk. I don't think that the partnership is destroyed, or I think they just have to be quiet down and not be as close as they were and not be as far off as they are now.
Never
And I
gonna
think
be
they
the
can find a
same.
modus operandi that'll be to mutual benefit. And you were absolutely right. The only people who are happy are the left. It is, but they.
And that's it. So we heard from Victor. All right, guys, do me a favor. Hit that like button if you haven't already, because it does help us. So let me see. What else we got going on? I am locked up. My screen locked. Wonderful. It figures. Let's see. There we go. Let's see. What do we got here? How many? We had over 23 people most of the night, which means people came and went. 23 thumbs up. Yeah, Victor's a good guy, but he had to learn. Hang on. I just got something. He had to learn how to slow his roll when he talked, because he would talk for the longest time. Here we go. I got another good one here. I just received it. Let's see. Here we go.
Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry. And protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would. No,
I love this.
I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives.
He had the
not
highest.
one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
I had
receiver of
small
pharmaceutical money.
contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
You were the
not a nickel from corporate.
You were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in the industry.
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right.
Oh, man. That's funny. I see a lot of this stuff now with the babies and Trump talking. I see a lot. They're just funny. I'm sorry. They're hilarious. Thank you. Let's see. I'm going to watch the fourth quarter of the NBA. Yep. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I love all of you. Thank you for being here. You make my Friday. You guys are hilarious. Dr. Jade will be back next week. She probably watched throughout a lot of this. I thought, my God, I'm involved in that. Yeah. I have 21. Yeah. If you have $1 and I have $21, then I have 21. Yeah. What did he say? Naked truth. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Please watch my videos during the week. Bring a friend next week. Appreciate you guys. Love you all. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be on 42 show last Saturday of the month this year. Ciao. Yeah. So you guys make sure I'll keep reminding you of it. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you later. Bye. Thank you.